took people's drop boxes. I was like, are you a conservative, ma'am? And like an old lady would be like, yeah, I'm a conservative. And I would fucking deck her, take her ballot and just rip it apart right in front of her face. I was like, you're not allowed to vote this way in California. That's right, bitch. I got a funny one for you. Okay, here, look at this.
With what we were seeing in the polling data going into this election about what people cared about and the order in which they ranked it. So we have had a lot of questions throughout this time about new voters, people that hadn't been in there before that were perhaps not getting captured by the polling. So maybe this is a sign that we're going to see a little bit more of that tonight than we expected. We obviously don't know yet.
And you know what's missing from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 5 issues? Democracy.
Yeah. Yeah. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh? All polo and some white shoes. Funny thing now is I'm a nice dude, but when you cross that line, it ain't the right move. And my tender bitch is what I like knows. Oh yeah, can you feel that? I'm giving y'all that real rap. I'ma get the money, make the deal fat. Making hits with a steel bat. The Audi Quattro or that Monte Carlo. Which whip will I whip tomorrow? Got 6 chicks down to sip the bottle. Go coast to coast so I can ship the cargo. I don't really know if these people keep it real. I'm just telling all you fuckers how the homie really feel. And I'm looking up to God. Can you tell me what's the deal? I'm just waiting for your answer at the altar where I kneel. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh? Let me get the money, I see you bitches acting funny, can't take nothing from me, nah. Rapping blunts like mummies, yeah. We freed the homie when he caught a bid. I roll around, you can't stop the kid. Truth be told, I'm hot as shit. Just say what up when you spot a kid. Real talk, I'm trying to speak the truth. I stay loyal, bro, to my roots. Since 15, I've been in the booth. That's 16, I was on the move. Used to ride in that old Chevy. Now we out here show ready. I can see the bull, you're so petty. You can have your shine, my glow heavy. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh?
It was beautiful, yeah, together. even though we plan forever. Days of dreams, nights of talks, it was only us together. The world was ours, nothing out of reach. Imagine where we could be. Our dreams is one, hope brighter than the sun. What could ever stop us? Then it all turned, I don't know why. Still to this day, I'm wondering why. Will we ever know? Will we ever get to understand what we both went through? Anyway, I'm thankful for the times I had with you. I just want to thank you for loving you. Your love made me love myself more. And I could never thank you, never thank you enough. I was down when you met me, but your smile wouldn't let me take down on myself, look down on myself. You told me I could, that I should, I would spread my wings and head for the sky. Then it all turned, I don't know why. Still to this day, I'm wondering why. Will we ever know? Will we ever get to understand what we both went through? Anyway, I'm thankful for the times I had with you. I just want to thank you for loving you. Your love made me love myself more. And I could never thank you, never thank you enough. You said some things you didn't mean. I'm sure I did that too. Oh, baby. Egos clashing, dreams crashing. Whatever happened to me and you? From lovers to strangers, when everything changes. Oh, baby. When we tear out the pages and only one word is left. Please let just be quiet until the next riot. Just give us some time for the wounds to heal. What is broken is broken. Let's just leave it for now. We need some perspective just to understand how. What is broken for now. What is broken for now. I think we both need to grow so that we need not to know. Maybe doubt, maybe ask, maybe understand at last. From knowing to asking, from tearing to building, from thinking to feeling.
Hello.
From
What's
hurting
up,
to
internet?
healing.
Hello to all the tiny people and my computer. Hope everyone's doing well. Pretty good. My sleep schedule is real fucked. That's why I'm so late. I'm sorry. I had stuff to do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna try and keep it short tonight so I can sleep at like a semi-normal time. We're always trying, okay? I am like so tired. Honestly. I'm very tired. If I'm being real with you. I'm exhausted. My god. I had to like delete a YouTube short because it like I think it thought there was a child in it. It was just of me and my cat playing, but like the TV was on. I don't really know what was playing. I don't remember, but there was like one frame that looked like there was like a kid. So fuck that whole short, I guess. So that's annoying. It was so weird. It like turned off comments. I had never had that happen to me before. Please don't smite me, YouTube gods. I'm sorry. Sorry, I just wanted to show a video of my cat. My bad. My fucking bad. My fucking Facebook is kind of going nuts right now. There's one post that has like 500 comments. It's kind of out of control. So much fucking transphobia. Oh my god, so much transphobia. It's bleak. It's bleak out there on the Facebook streets. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me. Yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. I hope they never shut Facebook down, because then it's just gonna unleash all these fucking very unstable people onto the rest of the internet. You need to keep them there, like a quarantine. Quarantine the brain rot on Facebook. What else? Oh yeah, I want to get back to painting too. Hopefully, oh my god, for early tomorrow. We can like do that tomorrow maybe? Oh no, I have to edit. Do that Tuesday. To get it and said she'll bring her best friend. Know what happened next, man. You know what happened next, man. Treat her like the guest, man. Rolling out the best, man. She had a confession. Yeah. She wanna stay for a minute. She wanna play for a minute. She wanna what's going on in the news since we last talked? The TikTok thing is crazy. That hearing is crazy. I think I showed some of those clips. I don't know. I haven't had the time to watch like more in-depth coverage. I don't know if they ever actually made any points. It's so embarrassing, dude. It's so embarrassing. What else? What else? I keep missing my morning streams, and I feel like I'm missing out on like so much. It's kind of fucking me up.
yeah, there was the Bernie Moderna thing. That's kind of old at this point, but I still want to get to that. Yeah. I don't know, man. Oh, the Trump fucking rally. The Trump rally was so fascist, dude. The mix-up of the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance was just straight up, like, hardcore Nazi shit. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, ominous stuff. Oh yeah, there was the Anna discourse. Anna Kasparian started a whole discourse with a transphobic tweet. So that's annoying. Very disappointing. Yeah. Anyway, guess we can get into it now.
Dear Polly, I barely know anybody, literally. I'm not even sure I want that many friends, but how am I ever going to find anyone, as in a romantic partner, if I speak to literally 7 people in my life? One of those 7 people is a guy who struck up a conversation with me over half a year ago online. Over time, I grew more and more interested in him.
Oh my God.
He seemed to grow less and less interested in me. I'm crazy about him. And so lonely. I feel like a starving rabbit with only a few pieces of horrible, rotting cabbage leaves in its cage. I keep telling myself they're awful, and I'm better than that.
Oh my God.
And I deserve
Oh my
at least some
God.
normal, not even amazing, just regular good cabbage. But eventually, hunger always gets the best of me, and I give in. Please help me get out of that cage. Love, can't stop eating rotten cabbage leaves. Dear can't stop eating rotten cabbage leaves. You're like a working breed of dog that doesn't have any sheep to herd. Do you know what happens to those dogs? They rip up rugs and chew shoes to tiny shreds, and then pace, and then
Oh my
grow
God.
depressed and violent. That's what you're doing to yourself with this
Oh my
pointless
God.
correspondence. You have so much potential, so
God.
much energy, so much sensitivity to the world, and you're wasting it, and using it to eat yourself alive. Using it to tell yourself that you're worthless. You're addicted to loneliness and desperation. It's the strongest emotion you've ever known, so your subconscious tells you that it's your destiny. It's like a rite of adulthood, a page torn from the teenage girl Bible or something. Cabbage, you are very, very young. You're learning how to live. Nothing could be more romantic, more fated than that. The cage is open. The sheep in your heart need herding. What is it that Zack Snyder said? You have all the weapons you need. Now fight.
Tomfoolery.
Ah, girlhood. That most sacred time. A time where God himself reaches a hand down from the cotton candy skies, unscrews our heads from our necks, and pours down sugar, spice, and everything nice. Between the ages of 5 and 19, girls are unflinching. They embody rainbows, daisies, Barbie dolls, and cherries. Girlhood is clean. It's dainty. It speaks when spoken to and never raises its voice. It knows no identity outside of marriage, outside of motherhood. It puts pants on when men are invited over, even if shorts are more comfortable. It learns shame and envy and a need for perfection. Girlhood is godly, and godly girls grow up into women who are just as pious. Victorian women, for instance, were expected to be the angel in the house. This was an archetype popularized by Coventry Patmore's 1854 poem,
Hate that.
The Angel in the House. The arsenic wafers were truly impeding upon their creativity. But, anywho, Coventry wrote the angel in the house for his wife, Emily, whom he saw as the most perfect woman on planet Earth. She was graceful and young, tender and pure. She'd probably fling herself in front of a moving car if it meant that she could stop him from getting splashed from curb water. Coventry writes, Emily was simply subtly sweet. My deepest rapture does her wrong, yet it is now my chosen task to sing her worth as maid and wife. The poem gained traction in the late 1800s and became an ideal for women to emulate. She was beautiful and pious and would never throw a pan of hot grits at her lying, cheating husband. I'm not saying that Coventry was a lying, cheating husband. I'm saying that, if he was, Emily would probably refrain from playing hot grit skee-ball with his face. Yet, amongst all of these pure characteristics, the angel in the house was suffocating to women. Elaine Showalter considers the angel a male ideal rather than a living woman, mainly because a living woman would play hot grit skee-ball with her lying, cheating husband's face, and a male ideal simply would not. Virginia Woolf knew intimately the suffocating nature of the angel archetype. Woolf was a prolific writer of the 20th century and the current owner of an absolutely insane Wikipedia views section. So congratulations to her on the weirdness. She once noted that the angel archetype hovered over her as she wrote and whispered, "Be sympathetic, be tender, flatter, deceive. Never let anybody guess that you have a mind of your own. Above all, be pure." Later, Woolf would write about the angel, "It was she who used to come between me and my paper when I was writing reviews. It was she who bothered me and wasted my time and so tormented me that at last I killed her."
Based.
A girlhood so godly you have to kill it. Not even M. Night Shyamalan could write something so ironic. The truth is, girlhood isn't as godly as we've said it is. And it's not as universal as pop culture would have you believe. We desperately want it to fulfill these expectations, but there's too much evidence stacked against us. How do we reconcile the fact that girlhood is supposed to be sugar, spice, and everything nice when there are so many people who don't experience it that way? What do we say to the girls who feel like open wounds? The girls who had their labels misread and were filled with salt and cyanide rather than sugar and spice? How do we hold space for their reality?
So real. Filled with salt and cyanide, dude.
Hello?
Oh my god.
I've got to take this. It's the World Wide Web calling. Social media's idea of girlhood is much more of a blight than a sparkle. In this realm, the very essence of girlhood is to fear and be feared, as Hannah Williams argues. Girlhood is to hold these two fears simultaneously within yourself. To know that your body, by the sheer fact of its existence, will be terrified by the society that claims to be terrorized by it. The female body has been codified as disgusting, defective, leaking, bleeding, oozing, from time immemorial. She limps, incomplete and half-finished, across Aristotle's theories, a deformed monstrosity, and a misbegotten man. Why do I write my scripts with a cadence of a British person in mind? Bit sad, innit? A bit sad, innit? But Hannah Williams's musings aren't entirely off the mark. It's hard not to envision society as girl hostile when you consider the horrors. When describing this darker aspect of girlhood, Mary Piper evokes Ophelia, the doomed and destroyed young girl in Shakespeare's Hamlet. Through Piper's eyes, girlhood is marked by a stripping of agency, a confused and touched mind, and a tragic, self-inflicted death. Reviving Ophelia, both the book and the archetype it spawned, relies on seeing women and girls as vulnerable victims of a patriarchal society. They are not so much human as they are personified anxiety, unable to reach fruitful self-determination. Piper states, "Adolescent girls are like saplings in a hurricane. They are young and vulnerable trees that the winds blow with gale strength. Just as planes and ships, so do the selves of girls go down in droves. They crash and burn in a social and developmental Bermuda Triangle."
Bermuda Triangle. What does that mean? Wait, what does that mean? in a social and developmental Bermuda Triangle. The selves of girls. The selves? I wonder if they mean self-esteem?
Droves. They crash and burn in a social and developmental Bermuda Triangle. Bummer. I'm not a big fan of this argument.
Yeah.
It sounds medically archaic at best and essentializing at worst. Piper repeatedly references the ungovernable emotions of young women and girls. She laments about how entirely fickle their minds are, how swayed they are by the slightest of temperaments. Shansphere, I think I've come to a conclusion about your symptoms. You may have an illness known as hysteria. I find Piper's language strange in these cases, but the truth is, there is a profound level of sadness in sectors of young girls and women. A sadness that puts them at odds with the godly girlhood that has forsaken them. The way these girls cope, especially in the age of the internet, is to transfer that religious promise onto tragically beautiful communities. Whether it be blogs, TikTok niches, or Instagram hashtags, girls who feel doomed by the narrative are finding online spaces where their girlhood finally feels vindicated. Take, for instance, the tragically beautiful idol of my teen years. My 14th birthday was 10 years ago, which, on the internet, sounds like a century. But at that age, I was hopelessly and romantically anguished. I'm not one to romanticize the act of struggle. Living with bipolar disorder in a heavily stigmatized society sort of turns me off to glamorization. But as the Ask Polly excerpt stated earlier, I was addicted to loneliness and desperation. And because those were my strongest emotions, it felt like it was my destiny to feel them. The most popular platform to express this pain, at least in my little bubble of the internet, was Tumblr. For all its current uselessness, Tumblr felt like a safe beacon for people like
God, yeah. Tumblr is for the sad girls. Sad girls, gender neutral. Yeah. There is so much like romanticization and like aestheticizing, I guess, of mental illness, essentially. It's not great. I would say it's overall not good. Um, I don't know. It's hard because like on the one hand, it is like an artistic expression and it helps you like cope with whatever you're feeling. And that's like good, right? But then there's like by producing that you're always gonna receive the fucking criticism of like, oh, like you're just choosing to be sad. Like just choose to be happy, forehead. Like I don't know. And like I don't think it is. I don't, it's so complicated. Yeah. I feel like you can definitely tell when it's like being glamorized versus like just like showing your experience through art. It's like hard to say where that line is necessarily.
me. Asterisk included. People who were lost and confused and tied to their pain by a red string of fate. Tumblr is where the sad girl niche grew wings and floated to the top of our cultural zeitgeist, aided and abetted by lonely users like me. The sad girl was a paper mache of messy buns and Lana Del Rey images. She wore fishnets, Doc Martens, and Nirvana band tees. She smoked cigarettes for the aesthetic and often wrote concerning poetry in all caps. Oof. God, I'm unlocking a memory. There was always a pain behind the eyes of the sad girl, and she wasn't ashamed to show it. She was the embodiment of our sadness, a piece of evidence that we presented to society, telling them that their expectations were killing us. We believed back then that the sugar, spice, and everything nice bullshit must have skipped a generation, because our destiny was chaos and isolation. No one wanted to hear us, but we demanded to be heard. In my last video, I talked about the damaging effects of beauty sickness and how it may motivate online users to commodify themselves into a product for the consumption of the masses. Obsessed with curating identities centered around beauty and aesthetics, these users commit themselves to the grueling lifestyle of constant performance. As a sort of mini part 2, I thought it would be interesting to zoom in on a specific aesthetic niche, especially one that can be seen as an agonized response to the suffocating standards presented in my beauty sickness video. After all, a decade has passed since the call to action put forth by the Tumblr sad girl, and our youngest generation is still clamoring for a space to validate them into existence. Thus, like a swan rising from the ashes of her own tears, the femcel was born. The Atlantic
Whoa. That was a lot of graphics.
was
Hold on.
born.
I love femcels. Ooh. I'm dangerously becoming a disgusting, unironic femcel. While I was looking for something, I discovered panties that were rank and soaked with blood in the back pocket of my backpack. And I can't even remember why that would be in there. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, what the fuck?
The Atlantic named 2022 the year of the femcel. Women and girls were gleefully asserting their right to give a name to their loneliness and alienation. They started by embracing their own toxicity. Their manipulative behavior became a trophy, and their ironic possession of girlhood became an accessory. While not as hopelessly emo as the Tumblr sad girl of my time, femcels have at least one similarity to their foremothers. They both have a penchant for Lana Del Rey, and really just about any other tortured woman, be it fictional, musical, or historical. You can argue, like Royce and Lanigan, that the femcel stems from earlier subcultures like the manic pixie dream girl, or better yet, they're a modern retelling of the kinder whore. Maybe they even take a few pages out of the commercialized riot girl movements. But the femcel is different. At least that's how they view themselves. Armed with Instagram bios that boast the banishment of locals and basics, and the belief that they're the most interesting people in the room, the femcel feels entitled to the label of exceptionalness. But this is the description of the modern femcel, most associated with—
What the fuck is a local? I guess it's similar to a basic, I'm assuming? Ugh, I hate having to learn all this fucking Zoomer ass vocabulary. It makes me feel very old. People who live in your city that have no personality, bland, and like anything that's mainstream. People on Twitter who are very generic and from your area. So it's like NPCs. Just basic people in general. Okay. Better way to say normies. Interesting.
with Instagram aesthetic niches and TikTok communities. Earlier versions of the femcel held true to its portmanteau. To be a femcel back then literally just meant to be a female incel. Incel stands for involuntarily celibate, and over time it became well associated with men. Not just any men, but men who turned violent, most often against women, when they felt denied something integral to their existence. Sex. I'm talking about sex. However, the first incel form was created by a queer woman seeking community for her loneliness in 1997. It wasn't inherently linked to lonely men, but more so linked to lonely everybody. The creator of the forum wanted to make a space where she and other people could vent without being shamed or ignored. After a while, the forum kind of took on a life of its own. The originator of the forum moved on, but the people within it didn't. Incel communities became more exclusionary and much more misogynistic as time went on. And it's in this increasingly binary environment that femcels emerged. Femcels began posting on a subreddit titled True Femcel in 2018, and here they flourished until 2021 when the sub was banned. Reddit cited hate speech for its termination, and since I wasn't there before it was taken down, I have no idea what kind of content was on the platform. I also couldn't find any alternative subreddits specifically related to femcels in name, but there are various subs to this day that are dedicated to lonely women, some of which still use the infamous language associated with incel forums. The femcel I'm most interested in is not the original version, but the aestheticized version that is proliferating online communities. What I find fascinating about the femcel is that it speaks directly to the idea of transgressive and rebellious girlhood. Like earlier communities that shun traditional feminine expectations and the oppression that begets, the femcel exists as a reaction, albeit a self-reflective and ironic one, to prescriptive doctrines of wholesome femininity. But not only that, I'm intrigued about the politics of the femcel. What makes something transgressive in a heavily racialized and classist society? How can an identity that's built on the notion of rejection and revolution at the same time be fetishized, both in our cultural eye and by the people who partake within the community? This, dearest viewer, is now the 40-minute traffic of our stage, the which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, my toil shall strive to mend. And with that, the sweet, passive, and docile heroine we're told to be falls away. And in her place steps revenge.
Let's go. Let's fucking go. Real smoking is gross. Hey now.
To understand the femcel, we must first understand transgression and the foremothers born out of it. To be transgressive is to be rebellious, to push boundaries. The term is usually used in reference to crime or infidelity. For instance, when you ran that red light last week and maimed 42 geese and their 3 small children, you transgress against the societal rule of safe driving and geese preservation, and you will be convicted soon. But transgression also relates to realms outside of unlawfulness. If we understand the definition to simply relate to challenging the norm, it can refer to any social, political, or even economic landscape. Let's say, for instance, that your family has a rule that you don't speak about movies at the dinner table, especially not on Meatloaf Mondays, and especially not when your Aunt Helen is visiting for the weekend. Helen is a Team Jacob sort of person, and your family are die-hard Team Edward fans. As they should be, theoretically. This rule is so cemented in your family that it's been observed for generations. Your mom even has a sign up over the dinner table banning any sort of discussion related to Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and especially that one scene in Breaking Dawn. You know exactly what scene I'm talking about.
Is that the Grim Reaper?
But you're rebellious. That meatloaf is sitting right in front of you. Your mom is thinking about that one picture of Robert Pattinson in a skirt. And you look your Aunt Helen in the eye and you say,
Team Jacob never existed because Bella never even considered Jacob as more than a friend. And even when you think she did, she was really just feeling that way out of guilt or loneliness, depending on what situation she was in, and not because she actually felt connected to him beyond friendship.
You've ruined family meatloaf night. Your mother is crying. You have transgressed. What I'm most interested in today is not Twilight or the 87 sequels that ruined Jacob's character beyond repair, but instead I'm most interested in transgressive gender. Despite gender being a social...
I want to hear about that though. New Twilight video coming? I think she actually has one.
construct, our society views it as something we're born with having intimate knowledge of, as well as something that's inherently dictated by our sex. For instance, if you're born male, you're expected to partake in masculine presentation, hobbies, and identity. You must go to war, play football, be the breadwinner, and know how to drill a hole. And no, that's not a euphemism. I've got a set that needs building, and well, I'm nothing but a small, dainty little flower. If you're born female like me, your gender expectations are entirely different. You're to clean the house, cook the dinner, stay at home, and rear the children. And you can't forget about those pesky little lack of rights. As an MB, I'm considered transgressive just by way of existing. Not only do I push the boundaries of gender norms, but I reject them entirely. I'm like Bugs Bunny. Whichever gender is funniest at the moment, I'm gonna be that. Depending on how you look at it, girlhood is usually positioned as inherently transgressive, and forgive me, I am going to be so vague with the term girlhood, but this ambiguity has its purpose. Just keep that in mind. As Carol Gilligan argues in her 1982 book, girlhood is an especially critical time in women's development, because to connect her life with history on a cultural scale, she must enter, and by entering, disrupt, a tradition in which human has, for the most part, meant male. One can argue that in this way, anything a woman does is transgressive simply for the fact that she's not expected to do anything at all. That is her one societal boundary. Don't eat the fruit. Don't do anything except be
Sit there and look pretty.
born from the rib of a man. Just by way of breathing, the woman crosses this social boundary and is transgressive. Of course, this argument only works if we ignore every single horror bestowed upon womanhood from the dawn of time. In fact, there is a lot expected out of women. These expectations just get more narrow and convoluted the further you travel across intersections. But let's take a general approach for now. If we assert that women must be passive, they must be dainty, they must be traditionally feminine in order to be accepted, then the way we identify gender transgression changes. It no longer takes mere existence in a man's world to be transgressive. You must now be assertive, coarse, and viciously nonconforming. You must be a riot girl. The riot girl is one of many early manifestations of subverted white girlhood. It originated in the early 1990s along the west coast of the United States. At its core, it was a political and feminist pushback against the patriarchal domination happening within the punk scene at the time. Women-fronted bands such as Bikini Kills, Heavens to Betsy, and Bratmobile presented themselves as the quintessential embodiment of girlhood. With a twist, they cultivated a girly aesthetic through their outfits, zines, and iconography, while also mixing in what Gonek describes as the most threatening thing in a female adult: rage, bitterness, and political acuity. These three characteristics, especially rage, were long since considered a man's thing. After all, in writing about the subversive nature of the riot girl movement, Gail Wald argues that youth is more likely to be associated with aggression, violence, and crises, and youth itself is frequently conflated with boyhood. These so-called manly characteristics go against popular imagery of traditionally feminine women, making the reclamation of such characteristics transgressive for the riot girl community. To better explain this ironic reclamation, Ernesto Laclau put forth the theory of disarticulation, rearticulation. This is just a fancy way of saying, this thing used to be used negatively against me and I think that's whack, so I'm going to reclaim it and use it for myself, maybe even ironically, so I can have agency over its oppression. In the case of the riot girl and other transgressive niches of their time, they disarticulated and rearticulated girlhood itself. They kept the so-called staples of girlhood, which is really vague when you think about it, and they challenged those boundaries. Instead of it being seen as a condescending remark about their lack, the term girl became a vicious indicator that they weren't going to take anyone's shit anymore. The music found within the riot girl niche also reflects this fierce gender transgression. Some riot girl bands spoke of assault, violence, patriarchal infantilization, and the sexualization of young girls, all within music and styles that were unquestionably girly. As Gail Wald argues, the themes within the riot girl community were not about a loss of innocence or a fall from
I've literally never heard of this. Riot girl. When did they say when? I forgot already. Began in the early 1990s in Olympia, Washington, in the greater Pacific Northwest. Interesting. It sounds kind of based. I don't know.
childhood grace, but an innocence that was not owned or enjoyed, a grace that was denied. This is where I find that the Riot Girl and the femcel converge the most. The social media profiles of femcels and girl bloggers are carefully curated to show their girlness. They post pictures of bows and heart-shaped sunglasses. They collect makeup and outfit inspiration. They're unapologetically pink and masters at sweetness. But there's also the same rage and transgression within the femcel community that exemplified the Riot Girl. The femcel is turned off by the ills of society. She amplifies their and heart-shaped to show their girlness. They post pictures.
Oh my god, this collage.
Pictures of bows.
Yeah. Starter pack.
And heart.
Hysteric bitch, unbothered girl boss, perfect princess. Wow.
Heart-shaped sunglasses.
These are so fast.
Girlness. Bro. They post pictures of bows and heart-shaped sunglasses.
This looks like something I would have reblogged on Tumblr.
Glasses.
I will always be the virgin prostitute, the perverse angel, the two-faced sinister and saintly woman. So true.
They collect
every day I get more insane and also sillier and more delusional. Please just go to therapy.
Makeup.
Outside, inside. The fuck?
An outfit.
If you ask the girl for a cigarette and she pulls out this, what do? I don't know. Ask if they're all broken?
Inspiration. They're unapologetically pink and masters at sweetness. But there's also the same rage and transgression within the femcel community that exemplified the Riot Girl. The femcel is turned off by the ills of society. She rejects the expectations that have caused her harm. Their idols are women unhinged, women abused, women who seek revenge and come out on top. One such icon in the community, Sylvia Plath, is well known for the destructiveness exhibited in her writing. Parvin Ghassemi argues that Plath's portrayal of a world devoid of meaningful spiritual resources crashes the self and leaves out the corpse, mutilated and silenced. As a reactionary gesture against this oppressive modern society, Plath employs a shockingly harsh language, a host of violent images, impressed by painful and hurting incidents and experiences. Her work, then, exhibits a rebellion and indicates the individual's struggle to liberate the self from the bondage of social conformity and dispossession. These idols are cathartic to femcels. Yeah. They're able to see characters.
I remember being 14 and reading The Bell Jar. I may have been a little older, like 16, maybe. But I remember reading it and thinking like, wow, I relate to this so much. It's so deep. I'm not like other girls.
In situations similar to theirs, at least thematically, and they don't have to feel so alone in their emotions. These idols are given space to spiral, to be angry, to express their opinions, to fight back against oppression, to embody the very traits that the femcel feels forced to suppress. Femcels are transgressive to our popular understanding of femininity because of this rage, because of this penchant for violence. If you remember from earlier, rage is one of those things that are expected of boys and suppressed in girls. You can't be delicate, docile, and submissive if you want to play hot grit skee-ball with your lying, cheating husband's face. Women not only suppress their anger
hot grit skee-ball. Hot grit skee-ball.
because society views it as a man thing, but because showing anger as a woman may put you in more danger. For instance, when women reject men, when they show disapproval at a man's actions, when they get angry at a man's actions and show that anger, there's a high chance of them getting further harassed, assaulted, or even killed. So yeah, reclaiming anger as a valid emotion can be viewed as transgressive for women, asterisk included. But here's the thing. Even while acknowledging all of this, even while understanding how important these communities can be for lonely young girls, and even while understanding how liberating gender transgression can be for those suffocated by unattainable ideals, there's still the matter of ambiguity. You see, the adoption of girlhood done by niches such as Riot Girl and femcels is very indistinct in its meaning. Yes, you have the pink, and you have the bows, and you have the heart-shaped sunglasses. You post memes about you and the girls rotting in bed, and you wax poetic, perhaps ironically, about your favorite feminine activities. But what is it about girlhood exactly that you're adopting and trying to subvert? And what demographic does that girlhood reflect? I would argue that these communities are in the business of manufacturing a very specific image of girlhood and transgression that is only plausible for a certain type of girl. They achieve this by employing a mixture of imagery, language, and expectations that narrow the field of representation and solidarity. For example, for all of its emphasis on inclusion and gender revolution, a lot of the bands who considered themselves Riot Girls often participated in trans-misogynistic events. Not only that, but the reclamation of girlhood that Riot Girls, Kinderhort...
Oh no. Very unpoggers. What the fuck? What the fuck? I assumed because it was punk that it might be based, but clearly very much not based. The fuck?
Bands and girl power activists undertook in the 90s and 2000s desperately tried to fashion girlhood as white, middle class, and cis. The same goes for some sectors of the femcel community. The social media apps I sifted through for this video include Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok. It was hell on earth. On all three of these platforms, the femcel tag is dominated by imagery and experiences that most relate to white women than any other race. Sometimes you have to scroll quite a bit to find anyone of color in these spaces, and when you do, it's very slim pickings. I know in our current anti-woke age, we don't consider underrepresentation an issue. If anything, most people would try to argue that it's a skill issue rather than a systemic one. But as George Gerbner theorized in 1976 with his symbolic annihilation proposal, underrepresentation doesn't just exist for funsies. It contributes to ongoing social inequity. He states that representation in the fictional world signifies social existence. Perusing these communities, people of color do not exist within them. At least not a lot of people of color. This can happen through a suppression of people of color's content. Maybe people of color do post within these circles, but they just get ignored or shunned. Maybe white creators within these circles prefer to only post white-centric media. Or maybe the environment is so hostile to outsiders that people of color aren't comfortable interacting within them. Lorelei Alverson makes an interesting case for the white-centric nature of the femcel community. They researched various platforms, including Reddit and Discord, and came back with receipts. Racism and transphobia are especially rampant within some femcel communities. Even when it seems to just be one person committing these acts, no one steps in to correct them. In fact, on the since-deleted femcel subreddit, True Femcel,
dude, wait, what if J.K. Rowling is a femcel? Is she married? She is. Wait, not anymore? No, she remarried. Oh god, and she has 3 kids. That's crazy. Well, I mean, she still might be a femcel. Who's to say?
one user posted a long and egregious rant about how no one would want to date black women because they're too strong, too slutty, and the like. According to Alverson, only black users tried correcting the original poster, while hundreds of other users liked the post. This doesn't even begin to reach the rampant fatphobia and transphobia circulating within the femcel community, especially on Tumblr. I'm not saying that every femcel is like this. It seems to be notable enough that people have begun making call-out posts and articles about it, but It's possible that this is only a small minority. But even so, the femcel, like past communities of transgressed gender, has sort of cemented itself as white, thin, and cisgender. Instead of holding space for the vast, unstable, and fluctuating states of girlhood, these communities seek to universalize it, creating an ethnocentric identity that equates girlness with whiteness. The thing is, the concept of girlhood is not portable. It cannot transfer across every social experience. Therefore, the way in which femcels and their foremothers display girlhood goes even further to symbolically annihilate anyone who doesn't look and behave like them. For instance, lost in the pretty imagery of pastel outfits and bloody heroines dominating these niches are young girls of color and girls from working class families. Their relation to and experience of gender, as well as transgression, is drastically different from the white and, at times, middle-class girls who are given the most space within these platforms. The very idea of transgressed girlhood hinges on the idea of women and girls being innocent until they're not. In order to subvert traditional femininity, you must first be granted access to it. As a black NB who was socialized as a girl growing up, I was never given the chance to be defined by my innocence or femininity. At my high school, for instance, a few of my peers considered me too dark. They would say that I disappeared in dark rooms and that I probably never blushed because how could it ever show up on my skin? Though it seems innocent, this teasing is directly linked to the stripping of my innocence and femininity. Dark skin is considered ugly, but it's also treated as an indicator of someone's intelligence or womanhood or temperament, even their financial class. People with darker skin, especially women with darker skin, are perceived to be more sexualized, more aggressive, more masculine, and more evil than people with lighter or even white skin. Even online, people within my comment sections consistently call me a man or paint me out to be this evil, angry black woman. Sorry. It's just so funny how racism makes you hallucinate. It's kind of crazy. But in my opinion, black women's anger is viewed
makes you hallucinate. For real. They are like the calmest person, I swear. Like they're always just like speaking in this tone, like just very calm, matter of fact, educational. Like I don't they're not angry. It makes you hallucinate.
viewed differently than white women's anger. Just by way of existing, black women are seen as angry, volatile, and ignorant. We're never even given the chance to get angry because its existence is assumed before we even open our mouths. This makes the reclamation of anger, a femcel staple, a bit harder for black women. I won't say it's completely out of reach because I encourage black women to always embrace their anger, no matter the stereotypes, simply for the fact that it's a human emotion and you are allowed to feel it. It doesn't have to be useful, it doesn't have to serve this great revolutionary purpose. It's something you were born feeling, not because you're black and not because you're a woman, but because you're a person. I also think in terms of transgression, a lot of the boundary crossing that happens with women of color, especially black women, is the reclamation of traditional, unironic femininity. When they lean into softness, when they lean into delicacy. For so much of our history, the social boundaries for us have been different, so the way in which we cross those boundaries will be different. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's speak more about black girls and their relation to girlhood. Black girls are usually the subject of adultification bias, a term first used in a 2017 Georgetown law study. Adultification can refer to two phenomena. The first is acting older than you really are. It usually occurs when children are handed adult responsibilities at a far earlier age than developmentally healthy. The second, adultification bias, occurs when adults view black children as older than they are, regardless of action or circumstance. Usually, adultification bias is informed by anti-black stereotypes that view black people as superhuman, subhuman, angry, or the like. In a quest to investigate adultification bias, Epstein et al., very tragic name, interviewed 325 people. Of those 325 people, 74% were white, 62% were female, 39% were between the ages of 25 and 34, and 69% held a college degree. Epstein et al. Found that across all age ranges, participants viewed Black girls collectively as more adult than white girls. Participants perceived Black girls as needing less protection and nurturing than white girls, and that Black girls were perceived to know more about adult topics and are more knowledgeable about sex than their white peers. Adultification bias tends to transcend action in the sense that even if a Black child is doing something similar to a white child, that Black child would still likely be viewed as more adult, thus leading to more discipline or discrimination. This bias is especially pronounced in the education sector. Teachers who participate
and policing. I mean, obviously, I probably don't even have to say that.
Within similar studies also considered Black children to be older than they really were. One teacher was recorded saying that Black girls think they are adults and try to act like they should have more control sometimes. Other teachers agreed, stating that Black girls exhibited very mature behavior and were socially, but not academically, sophisticated. Others still argued that Black girls were unnaturally controlling for their age compared to their white peers. Based on Epstein et al.'s study, the adultification of Black girls begins as young as 5 years old. It tends to peak around the ages of 10 and 14, and remains notable across a span of 15 to 19. According to Epstein, these results suggest that Black girls are viewed as more
Dude. Could you not find a different study? You had to choose the Epstein study.
adult than their white peers at almost all stages of childhood. This essentially means that young Black girls aren't ever viewed as girls. Therefore, their girlhood is truly void, interrupted. In terms of classism, lower and working class girls are also given less space to challenge social boundaries. For girls in inner city schools, their girls with attitude stance, they doing it for themselves in a way that ran counter to traditional forms of femininity, resulted in them being labeled at various times by teachers as real bitches, a bad influence, and a little cows. For working class girls, the ideal is even further out of reach, as they have to reconcile a girl power discourse that tells them that they can be and do whatever they want in a labor market that cruelly sets limits on any ambition, and an education system that classifies the majority of them as only fit for low-end, poorly paid work. The ways in which racism and classism intersect with transgressed girlhood isn't to imply that white middle-class girls aren't also brutalized for their expressions, but it does seek to call into question who these niches are made for, and how these acts of transgression only seek to reinforce a dominant hierarchy. Femcels tend to scream about how different they are. And sure, you can read this as ironic, but I question that. How different can you be while maintaining the status quo? How new and subversive are your actions when you're simply reinforcing historical exclusion? As Fusco writes, it is imperative that we cease fetishizing the gestures of crossing as inherently transgressive, so that we can develop a language that accounts for who is crossing, and that can analyze the significance of each act.
Ooh, Black Swan moment? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Black Swan moment. I love that movie. It's so good. This is so good.
On May 21st, 2020, Lana Del Rey set the internet ablaze. With a Jack Torrance-style typewritten notes app non-apology, she proposed a question for the culture. Now, I'm not interested in dissecting
I forgot about that. A question for the culture. I forgot all about this. They glamorize abuse in reality and glamorizing impersonation. What was this even about? see. I think it's pathetic that my minor lyrical explorations detailing my sometimes submissive or passive roles in my relationships has often made people say I've set women back hundreds of years. Let this be clear. I'm not a feminist. Uh-oh. Where's this going? But there has to be a place in feminism for women who look and act like me. The kind of woman who says no, but men hear yes. The kind of women who are slated mercilessly for their authentic, delicate selves. The kind of women who get their own stories and voices taken away from them by stronger women or by men who hate women. I've been honest and optimistic about challenging relationships I've had. Newsflash, that's just how it is for many women. Newsflash. Ah. And that sadly my experiences up until the point that those records were made. So I just want to say it's been a long 10 years of bullshit reviews up until recently, and I've learned a lot from them. But I also feel really what? But I also feel it really paved the way for other women to stop putting on a happy face and to just be able to say whatever the hell they wanted to say in their music. I mean, that's valid. I do think feminism should be able to include uh I don't know, like traditional femininity, but like critical support. Critical support. Because, yeah, if you are actively upholding patriarchy, like, I don't know. You don't you don't have to be a feminist, but then don't ask a question for the culture. This is feminist discourse. Not a feminist. Like, you kind of are, you know? Like, you're so close. You're so close. Newsflash.
She proposed a question for the culture. Now, I'm not interested in dissecting every word and racial fumble within this post. I've done that. Twice. And all work and no play makes Shakespeare a very dull boy. But there's something else of interest in this question for the culture, and that is the idea of delicacy, tragedy, and glamorization. Lana has had a tumultuous career in terms of public acceptance. As she states in her question for the culture, she has been relentlessly attacked, accused, and, at times, informally diagnosed with hysteria, all because of her music. Lana is the Sylvia Plath of pop music, that kind of girl that self-destructs and uses the blood spatter to paint a portrait. She talks about difficult experiences like abuse, drug use, and failed relationships, all through a lens of glamour and mysticism. And not to blow your mind or anything, but she is a certified god within the femcel community. Because of Lana's presentations of these topics, she's often said to be romanticizing unhealthy situations. He hit me and it felt like a kiss may not be an original lyric from Lana, but it does encapsulate her style of romantic tragedy. When she proposed her question for the culture, Lana argued that she doesn't romanticize tragedy, but instead shows the reality of her tragic circumstances. This is not a new debate. It doesn't start nor end with Lana Del Rey, especially when you consider that the femcel community is fighting the same battle constantly on various platforms. On one side, you have critics of the femcel calling the community toxic for their embracement of, well, toxicity. On the other hand, you have femcels willing to die on the hill of denial. They state that what they're doing isn't fetishizing tragedy because, one, all of their posts are ironic, and two, they're just sharing their experiences, like Lana. But what if both camps are right? Is it possible for tragedy-based media to be a presentation of reality while also being fetishized by its creators? The short answer is, duh, obviously. The long answer is, this is a very extensive YouTube video, and even this will not cover the complexity of this conversation. But my purpose here isn't to have the answers or to even supply you with one. As James Baldwin argues, you write to find out something which you don't know. It's not about the answer so much as it is about the journey. So I will try my best and let the rest float above me. Unkillable. The definition I'm working with in terms of fetishizing something comes from Cambridge Dictionary. To consider something or someone important, interesting, or attractive to an unreasonable degree. I would argue that this is sort of a prerequisite to becoming a femcel. They find characters that they relate to, at least thematically, who are often toxic or tortured, and they make gods out of them. The femcel tag on any given social media site is drowned with images of Nina, Pearl, and Lisa. While I agree that these characters feel realistic to the tortured femcel, the treatment—
Wait, am I a femcel?
Who are often toxic or tortured, and they make gods out of them. The femcel tag on any given social media site is drowned with images of Nina, Pearl—
Who is that? Wait, who's Pearl?
and Lisa. While I
Okay, I actually love Black Swan though, but not like that. Not for like the glamour toxic part. I just think it's a beautiful film. I think it's very well made. Uh the writing could use some work. I'll give them that.
agree that these characters feel realistic to the tortured femcel. The treatment these characters are given is not an attempt to normalize or start conversations about the complexity of mental illnesses or other afflictions. The point is to fetishize, to make someone or something more glamorous than they should be. Ironically or not, the way in which the femcel holds up these characters, at times uncritically, contributes to an everlasting cycle of fetishizing harmful behavior and experiences. Not only that, but femcels also tend to insinuate that their pain is something cool or hot. Hot girls have a pair of grippy socks. Grippy socks equals grippy box. Hot girls—
I'm sorry, what? Grippy socks equals grippy box? What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean?
that, but femcels also tend to insinuate that their pain is something cool or hot. Hot girls have a pair of grippy socks. Grippy socks—
Feminine urge to go insane and isolate myself from everyone, then get depressed because no one cares. Meanwhile, deep down, I actually love to romanticize loneliness in a hot, mysterious way. But I know I'm in a self-sabotage cycle and eventually drowning in depression, and as a result of it, wow, real as fuck. This movie is for hot girls only.
equals grippy box. Hot girls will be
You get prettier every time you cry?
diagnosed with hysteria back in the 50s.
What?
Hot girls need a lobotomy. I'm aware that there's an element of irony to it.
Wait,
Pain
okay.
is something
I was looking at the graphics.
cool or— Not only that, but
This
femcels
line.
also tend to insinuate that their pain is something cool or hot. Hot girls have a pair of grippy socks. Grippy socks equals grippy box. Hot girls will be diagnosed with hysteria back in the 50s. Hot girls need a lobotomy. I'm aware that there's an element of irony to it, but how much of it is irony and how much of it is
God.
genuine belief? It's kind of like when you start saying slay as a joke and suddenly you can't stop. You're witnessing the birth of your first niece in a near silent hospital room, and your throat is burning, trying to hold back the word slay at that very moment. At what point do you just accept the fact that slay is a part of you now? That your postmodern, post-ironic, post-adoption of it has altered the way your brain interacts with language? Of course, this isn't coming from a place of judgment. It's simply coming from a place of recognition. The language, memes, and aesthetics circulating femcel blogs right now is exactly what I reposted 10 years ago when I was 14 on Tumblr. Despite giving a voice to the most agonized parts of me, it was—
Literally, it's the same. It hasn't changed at all. It's like almost like a rite of passage on the internet as a woman at this point. Like, you just have to. Sorry.
still detrimental to my health to constantly partake in the behavior and mentality associated with the sad girl era, to constantly view myself as tragically yet beautifully broken, to feel incomplete without my sadness and loneliness, to glamorize the detrimental symptoms that stem from my mental illness, as if they weren't cries for help. You can argue that the layer of irony that the femcels employ protects them from glorifying unhealthy behavior, but I think that ironic layer is very, very thin. It protects you, surely, but it also protects you from being responsible for the things you're posting and internalizing. Let me clarify that this discussion is not me condemning your coping methods or telling femcels that they just need to try to be happy. That's weird. Why would I do that? I know what it's like to live with a debilitating mental illness or 3 and have nowhere to turn to. You're contemplating a permanent decision, and you have Rebecca from yoga telling you that mental illness isn't real and that you should just drink some more water and try this headstand and suddenly you'll be all better. The only place that feels receptive to your pain is the one that actively encourages it, because at least they acknowledge it's there. The behavior of the femcel is not uninfluenced by society. It seems to be a direct retaliation against the pain caused by suffocating expectations. I understand how important these communities are to lonely, desolate young girls. I know how important it is to have a space to vent without fear of judgment, but some of the behaviors prevalent in these communities is not healthy. It just reconfirms the negative thoughts in your head that tells you that you're eternally hopeless, that you're nothing without beauty, that you're so useless you don't deserve to live. It just encourages you to remain in its cycle. Just because it's real doesn't mean it's beautiful. Just because they're your strongest emotions doesn't mean they're your destiny. I know we like to gather around on the internet and say, it's not that deep. There are worse things happening in the world than women enjoying themselves. And sure, you're right about that. That's why I posted this on youtube.com under the entertainment category and not a proposal.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Shakespeare. Tell them. Tell them. Oh my god. The entertainment category. I can't.
To Harvard. But also, just 2 things. 1, I think it's detrimental to call these self-destructive racism, transphobia, and fat phobia happening within sectors of the femcel community something women do to enjoy themselves. It's discrimination, Bethany. It's not brunch. And 2, I think we should take the sadness and anger present in the aestheticized femcel community seriously. At times, I wish people took my own mental illnesses seriously when I was younger. I'd have a lot less physical and emotional scars if they did. I probably wouldn't have self-immolated and burned myself up if someone just took the time to see me, to tell me that there were other options, that the lifestyle I was romanticizing on Tumblr was the worst possible option for me. If someone just was there to tell me that there's more to life than my mental illnesses and that I'm welcome to try and search for that meaning at my own discretion. It's hard, I won't say it's not, but I made it past 16 and I didn't think I would, so that has to count for something. You're a young, sensitive romantic, and you need to find some new form of self-expression that builds you up instead of knocking you down. You're essentially throwing yourself into another destructive, loneliness-induced obsession, one that leaves you feeling empty, abandoned, and out of control, but that keeps you coming back for more simply because these are the emotions that feel the most familiar to you. You are young and you are learning how to live. Write that down. I am very young and I am learning how to live. Tape it to the wall by your bed and read it every morning. You are very, very young. You are learning how to live. The cage is open. The sheep in your heart need herding. What is it that Zack Snyder said? You have all the weapons you need. Now fight. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be thoughtful in the comments. I'm a person, you are a person, and those faceless looking bots in the comments, they're people too, believe it or not. And I love you, and stay safe out there.
They're so good. God. Oh, that hurt.
I know I'm about to date myself by saying this,
Oh my
but
god, that was fucking amazing. I love them. Please go follow Shakespeare.
Claire's was one of the go-to places in the mall as a teenager. Maybe you preferred Hot Topic or Newbury Comics, but if you wanted jewelry that wouldn't cost your entire allowance, phone accessories for your brand new pink razor, or the latest collection of snap bracelets,
Oh my god, accessories for your razor, dude, for real. That's so real.
then Claire's was the place to be. I realize that saying all of that out loud has probably made me sound ancient as all hell, but just bear with me on this.
Yeah,
Retail
I don't care. I'm also ancient, so.
executive Bruce Gaslow, who worked for Claire's for decades, admits that, yeah, it was a place of firsts for so many kids. Whether it was a first ear piercing, your first attempt to express yourself with makeup, or your first time going into a store and absolutely going nuts with no parents involved, it was a childhood shaping experience. Or a teenage shaping experience if you liked icing, the slightly grown-up version of Claire's owned by the exact same folks. Which truthfully, I didn't know that was supposed to be the target demographic. I thought icing was like supposed to be the fancy Claire's, and that was kind of their whole thing, was like that's where you went if you wanted to like sparkle like hell for homecoming. While you might not see junk jewelry and butterfly clips as the epitome of style nowadays, though the 90s and early 2000s
I'm sorry. Oh. Oh, it was for like older women. Really?
version of Claire's owned by the exact same folks. Which truthfully,
I knew it was the same owners, but I didn't realize.
I didn't know that was supposed to be the target demographic. I thought icing was like supposed to be the fancy Claire's, and that was kind of their whole thing, was like that's where you went if you wanted to like sparkle like hell for homecoming. While you might not see junk jewelry and butterfly clips as the epitome of style nowadays, though the 90s and early 2000s styles are making a comeback, there was a time when Claire's actually made the trends. As Gaslow put it, if you went into an empty mall at 3:30 in the afternoon, the only two busy spots would be the food court and Claire's. Not bad for a shop that's been around for about 50 years and originated in wigs. And yeah, you heard me right. The hat store chain that once sold trendy fake hair known as Claire's Boutiques was brought up in 1973 and rebranded to sell jewelry. Their buyer, Fashion Tress Industries, eventually shaped them into what we see today. And that's why, after being this fashion icon for teens and kids for so long, it seems almost impossible that they're going down the tubes. Stores are closing, debt was piling on, mall traffic has plummeted, failure was all but certain, right? And yet, no sooner did they start to become this relic of the past, Claire's has been making a comeback. As Marketplace put it, they went from bankruptcy to IPO, or initial public offering, scrunchies are in again, and 90s fashion is returning. But here's the question on my mind, and perhaps yours as well. Should Claire's make a comeback? Or maybe, are they better left in the past? Between asbestos and makeup and controversial ear-piercing policies, maybe Claire's is a 90s trend that we should leave behind. And that's what we're going to find out on today's episode of The Corporate Casket. But before we jump into it, I just want to...
Dude, I remember everything was so cheap. So very fucking cheap. It would fall apart almost immediately, like everything.
remind you that I actually do have a Patreon, in case you were wondering. It's patreon.com/Illuminati, and literally just today, if you are at the corporate, going to be about the McClown.com. Aside from being the place to go if you wanted junky, fashionable jewelry as a tween, Claire's was also the place to go to if you wanted your ears pierced. And no, that's not some exaggeration. They've pierced over 100 million ears worldwide and were considered a great alternative to piercing studios for young girls. In fact, I remember begging my mom when I was 12 years old, or like 11 or something, to get my ears pierced there, and she finally relented but gave in, and I got my ears pierced there. And then when I turned 18, I ended up getting my, whatever the top of my ear is called, my cartilage pierced, but that one fell out. And based on what I'm about to say, it's probably not surprising that my cartilage fell out. It's surprising that my ears that I pierced with my lobes are still actually pierced from that place. And for all of my other piercings, I've always gone to a tattoo studio and don't regret it 1 second. But let's talk about why I just said all of that. Now, a 12-year-old girl and her mom might feel more comfortable at the cute, girly jewelry shop, and that's totally fine. As long as Claire's isn't going to fuck up your ears, then, right? You know, that's okay. The trouble is, they might do exactly that. Fuck up your ears, that is. I mean, think of it. Are you going to trust a piercing shop with professionals that specialize in this shit, or a teenager in the mall with a tattoo gun? or a piercing gun or whatever. You literally can buy them on Amazon. Don't get any ideas. I've tried it for the record. It doesn't work out the way you think it does. Now, by no means am I blaming the teenager alone here. It's really no wonder that there's an abundance of horror stories of infected ears, piercings closing up, skin growing over the piercing, you name it, it's a whole thing.
Gross.
The reality is these teenagers who are hired to do retail are not properly trained on how to pierce ears. There's a reason why piercing studios have so many protocols, rules, training, apprenticeships. There's a reason for that. In 2018, People magazine reported that a 7-year-old was hospitalized and doctors had to dig her earring out with a scalpel after it became stuck. Her mother, Susie, stated, quote, "I was told that with this particular solution, Claire's Rapid Aftercare Cleanser, they would be healed within 3 weeks. I did think it was quick, but I didn't question it as Claire's is a reputable store and I trusted them. We regularly cleaned it as we had been told to and it looked absolutely fine, no sign of infection at all." Not long after, her daughter woke up one morning and the piercing was painful, hot and sore, and the back of her right earring was nowhere to be found. It had become stuck under her skin. But hey, accidents happen, and plenty of people, even adults, have had fantastic experiences there. It's not as if every single person that's gone to Claire's has ended up in the emergency room. However, it seems like their hygiene around piercing isn't the biggest problem here. It's actually the piercing policy. In April 2019, 32-year-old Raylene Marks wrote an open letter to Claire's Corporation explaining why she quit her job. Apparently, a 7-year-old made it clear to her that she no longer wanted to get her ears pierced and that the child was crying, saying that they were uncomfortable. Raylene said, quote, "I'm inclined to respect a child's right to say no to any adult forcing any kind of non-medical contact on them, so I told the other piercer I wouldn't be part of the ear piercing for this girl." Though the child and her mom left without getting the piercing done, Raylene's manager allegedly told her the following day that if the mother insisted next time, she had no choice but to go through with it. Raylene asked a clarifying question, quote, "So if a mother is physically restraining her daughter, holding her down and saying, 'Do it,' while that little girl cries and asks me not to, do I do the piercing?" Allegedly, her boss said yes, which is downright horrifying. This is absolutely disgusting. It's not as if an ear piercing is a medically
It's that policy? What the fuck? That's so weird, dude. And why would you do that to your kid?
necessary procedure by any stretch of the imagination. It's one thing if a little kid hates the dentist or something, but those appointments are necessary and you've ideally got a medical professional working with your child. But an ear piercing? Why would a parent push this so hard? What, because they want little Susie to be able to wear pretty earrings for a beauty pageant or something? I don't get it. If a parent forces their child to get ear piercings even when they don't want to, it's sending the message loud and clear that their right to say no means nothing. Kids can and do change their minds, and if they change it again and want the piercing at another time, that's fine. The Claire's employee can easily suggest that they come back another time if the child is ready again, instead of forcing it on them. And by the way, I do remember that Claire's also sold like non-pierced earrings, like the little clip-on earrings and stuff for the little gems that you could like sticker on. So it's like there are alternatives available literally in that same store. So just, I don't know, from like a sales perspective, it could have been like, oh my God, yeah, your child doesn't want that and you want your kid to wear hoops in a couple weeks or months or whatever. Well, here's these clip-on hoops and you can try that instead while they're not ready for the piercing quite yet. Like, I thought that maybe would be a good selling point.
Easy.
I don't know if that was considered. Maybe employees did it. I don't know. But anyway, back to the whole piercing shenanigans. Here's what the company's 509 policy states: that a worker politely suggests a parent and child come back on another day, and they have the right to refuse to perform an ear piercing. However, when the policy doesn't state in black and white that a kid has a right to say no and that their no means no, Raylene argues that it can facilitate these intimidating and traumatizing scenarios. Plus, while the particular situation that made her quit was very black and white, an obvious refusal from a child screaming and crying for a lengthy amount of times, she said she experienced many of these gray area piercings where a child, quote, resisted heavily but was pressured by the parents to settle down. It's tricky because some children probably do express interest in getting their ears pierced, but once that piercing gun is coming down towards them, they may have second thoughts. Still, I do think it's on a parent to navigate those situations.
Oh, I love Second Thought. That's a great channel.
To tell a kid that they can change their mind, or ensure they know what will happen in advance instead of making them just go through with it. And truthfully, when it comes down to the bottom line, putting that kind of pressure on a Claire's employee, a retail employee, it isn't right. It's up to the company to make it very crystal clear with the boundaries when it comes to this, and the fact that their policy allowed for this kind of intimidation is pretty disconcerting. I truly hope that there aren't other kids that have this story, but personally, I'm willing to bet that if it's happened to one child, it's probably happened to others too, maybe even some of you that are listening. Thankfully, Claire's did say that they would be looking into this and taking corrective action, so we can only hope that something like this won't be happening again. Unfortunately, while this piercing policy stirred up a massive controversy, it's not exactly the only one Claire's has faced in recent years either.
Uh-oh, there's more. Fucking asbestos, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck?
The other massive controversy with Claire's happened about 4 years ago when asbestos was found in their makeup. The FDR tested it and said that 3 product samples from Claire's, as well as others from Justice, contained asbestos. Claire's stated that they'd removed the eyeshadows, compact powder, and contour powder from their shelves in a quote, abundance of caution, as well as other talc-based products. Now, if you're not aware, here's kind of the quick little TLDR. Talc is a mineral that gives blush, eyeshadow, face powders, and many other cosmetics that silky texture that lets you apply it to your face easier. However, because talc and asbestos can form near one another and often do, there's actually a risk that talc can be contaminated, which would also up the risk of cancer, like mesothelioma and ovarian cancer. A while back in my Johnson & Johnson episode, I talk about the serious consequences and risks of products with asbestos, as they're one of the most well-known examples of these products potentially causing cancer. Infuriatingly, the Johnson & Johnson example proves that even when companies are aware of these risks and contaminations, sometimes they don't act on that information. It's really the embodiment of the mantra profits over people that some of these companies seem to have. Well, a lot of these companies, if we're being honest. The thing about all of this is that even after the J&J controversy, you'd think that companies would be more on guard about this, especially ones that marketed towards kids. But Claire's, in my opinion, didn't give a shit about the well-being of the children they're targeting. Not only do they act like they're removing products out of an abundance of caution, when, truthfully, I think that's literally the basic first step towards protecting your young consumers, but NPR also had this to say.
I'll be back in a second.
Claire's says its products are safe and disputes the test results, saying that they show significant errors. The retailer says the tests have mischaracterized fibers in the products as asbestos. So, okay, Claire's, where are your tests? Where are the independent studies you conducted? Because last time I checked and took a little peekaroo around, multiple independent testers found the exact same issue. The US PIRG Education Fund, a consumer advocacy group, also showed that those same 3 products we mentioned earlier contained asbestos. And according to the FDA, the Justice product that was found to contain it had actually been recalled in 2017. I guess recalls mean nothing to Justice though, which is kind of an ironic name for a store that seemingly doesn't know the meaning of the word and, in my opinion, treats their young consumers like disposable cash cows. But I digress. The point is, this attitude is really dangerous. I know kids' makeup is going to be cheap, shitty, shiny, brightly colored, full of glitter, and typically not really high quality compared to adult makeup. Sometimes those eyeshadow palettes at kids' stores look more like the dollar store painting kits and are just a little too hard to use too. But that doesn't mean that they should be dangerous by any stretch of the imagination. Unfortunately, kids' makeup is also subject to the same terrible regulations that take place in the industry as a whole. The laws used to regulate cosmetics, according to this 2019 NPR article, haven't been updated since 1938. The safety of Claire's products rests with Claire's alone, and clearly this self-regulation isn't working. And why would it? What company would actually spend their money to ensure safety and quality when they could just hoard it instead? Not many, clearly. Like Claire's. If you're going to question the methods of testing used by independent researchers, perhaps you should have your own studies and researchers to back up your questions and be able to actually refute the evidence against you, instead of just being like, no, we don't like this, we dispute it. Like, okay, for sure, interesting point. I'd have a lot more sympathy for them if they actually showed concern, decided to conduct additional testing, and, apologized. But hey, that didn't really happen. Again, I want to make it really clear that this is an issue with the industry as a whole, not just Claire's, but it's their response to the ordeal that I find so upsetting. And for the record, if we're gonna just be really obvious about it, they should know better. Like, it should literally be the basics of business. Like, you don't want to harm or kill your customers, but especially like a jewelry store targeted towards like children and teenagers, but I guess that memo was missed. Even JoJo Siwa, who had her JoJo Siwa brand makeup pulled, spoke out and said that safety was important to her. Whether or not that's a PR stunt, the fact that a teenager who was only about 16 at the time was willing to call this serious and the gigantic corporation Claire's insisted on downplaying the matter is pretty gross. Alright, so I think I've hammered that point down pretty well, and hopefully made you as annoyed about their pitiful corporate speak as I was. So let's talk a bit about Claire's as a company. Weren't they supposed to be dead by now?
Indeed.
Fallen by the wayside and bankrupt? What happened there?
Everything in the store is so fucking cheap. I guess, like, if it's for kids, I guess it doesn't really matter. But, like, I don't know. Does it have to be that bad? Does it have to? I must smoke.
Claire's filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018. They sell cheap jewelry you can easily find on Amazon. It doesn't really seem like this came as a surprise to anyone, honestly. Plenty of mall regulars have been doing the same thing over the years, as those 90s malls from millennials' childhoods are all dying. Gymboree, The Limited, and Payless Shoes have all turned to bankruptcy too. It only seemed like a matter of time before Claire's joined the ever-growing list. There were a few things that Claire's hoped would make it, quote, Amazon-proof though, like the fact that you can't pierce your ears at home. Well, like I said earlier, you can order a piercing gun and try it, but again, I don't think I'd recommend that to anybody. With Claire's 97.7% owner Apollo being over $2 billion in debt around 2017, all their talk of debt slashing and budgets really just sounded like prolonging the inevitable. Some, like chief retail analyst at the NPD Group market research firm, which what a name, Marshall Cohen, said that Claire's did seem strong enough to recover. He told the New York Times, quote, Claire's at least is not behind the 8 ball yet. They can still regain momentum. They just have to recognize that consumers have changed in a dramatic way. But the shift they'd have to make would be very dramatic, to the point where some really didn't think they could actually pull it off. Vice argued in 2020 that Claire's simply didn't appeal to Gen Z, and since they're aimed at kids and teens, relevancy is absolutely crucial to their brand. While the colorful earrings and best friend necklaces have remained pretty popular throughout the years, Gen Z is arguably more aware of their environmental impact than any other generation has been at their age. Emily Boodle at Vice wrote, Gen Z are well aware of the sacrifice of quality that comes with low prices, and in turn the impact of that low quality. Susanna, who's 17 and lives in South London, doesn't shop in Claire's because she finds it a bit cheap and tacky. I like to buy from local businesses, or Etsy or Depop, she tells me. It's much more sustainable. I don't think Claire's is particularly eco-friendly. A 12-year-old Lula was also interviewed for the article, and she said that she tries to buy things with less plastic packaging than Claire's, but they're not very good with plastic, and it makes her want to shop there less frequently. So first of all, good on these kiddos, like seriously. I don't know about any of you, but when I was 12, I don't think I was really super hopped up on looking into sustainable products. I don't even think I really understood what that meant. So I think it's commendable that younger generations are putting some thought and care into where they put their money. And well, that just isn't Claire's. Costume jewelry that can break or tarnish easily isn't typically made from organic or biodegradable products. It's cheap, junky, colorful stuff, let's just be real here. And as Vice puts it, the youth of today want more than squidgy, spiky balls. Claire's themselves have not seen it this way though, and they've continued to blame dying shopping malls for their bankruptcy woes. At times, they've had moments of awareness, like when one of their CEOs told the Chicago Tribune, "We are failing to reinvent ourselves for the 21st century, failing to change with the times, and quite frankly, got left behind by the customer."
Rip Bozo. Stay with the times. The future is now, old man.
So, Claire's died. The end. See you next episode, right? No. Because the 90s are back, baby, and this time for Gen Z to enjoy. And what better way to love the 90s than by going to, you guessed it, Claire's. I'll be honest, I really didn't think 90s fashion was going to make a comeback this soon. It really doesn't feel like it was that long ago, and the idea that there are people old enough to drink who were born after the turn of the millennium is absolutely wild to me. But hey, here we are, seeing old school 90s trends come back into fashion, and since Claire's was sort of, left behind by the 90s and never moved forward, they've been able to make a gigantic comeback. According to Fast Company, during the pandemic, they even generated $1.4 billion in revenue and swung a profit, with sales increasing more than 50%. It's not all that often you hear about massive corporations exiting bankruptcy so swiftly. Like, I'm perfectly well aware that nostalgia is a
Dude, wait, what happened? What happened to the kids caring about environmental shit?
powerful marketing tool, but my God, this is just a phenomenal example. I'm pretty sure this is going to be studied in marketing classes for like at least the next decade or so. Plus, any parents who spent their childhoods in Claire's are at a decent age to start bringing their kids there too. So again, another layer of nostalgia. Claire's hasn't just evaded certain death by bankruptcy, they've gone back to spotting trends too. Scrunchies made a comeback, and Claire's, in response, made millions upon millions of scrunchies. Oh, kawaii stuff is popular? No problem. Claire's now has Chibi and Tuxedo Sam all over their products, from lip balms to plushies and almost everything in between. You need fidget toys? They've got almost every single fidget toy in existence in the history of ever. But it's not just little accessories either, but everything from slip dresses to varsity jackets to baby tees and overalls, they're all making a comeback. And what better way to style 90s fashion than with those tattoo chokers and other 90s jewelry? Which again, God, that made me feel so old. I've been wearing the tattoo chokers like since high school, and I never really stopped. I just periodically wear them. I think in 2016 or 17, maybe I had a brown one instead of a black one because everyone was kind of going through that like softer look. It was like glam makeup, but like really weird outfits. Anyway, I can't wait to see that fashion make a revival because I don't think we really did it justice, so I can't wait to see what a newer generation does with it, to be honest. Kristen Patrick, the chief marketing officer, isn't wrong when she says that they suddenly became cool again and they're uniquely positioned to meet these nostalgia demands, and that much is true. Plus, thanks to TikTok spreading these 90s trends far and wide between generations that can either make it stylish or make fun of how unstylish it used to be, Claire's sure has plenty of consumers to choose from. But what about that whole sustainability bit? What about Gen Z being conscientious buyers and not wanting to get cheap, throwaway, junky
That's what I'm fucking saying.
plastic? Are they actually cool again or just trending temporarily? In my opinion, I think it's a little bit of both. Olivia Rodrigo, Willow Smith, and Diplo have all signed on to be official partners for the brand, breathing a whole new life into Claire's that it never had before. Even if they're considered nostalgic, a whole new generation is unironically enjoying 90s-inspired styles. Samantha Sutton, writing for InStyle, spoke with stylist Chloe and Chanel. Her article reads, quote, "It was so funny. We were on a photo shoot and it was basically Y2K inspired," Chloe tells me, as Chanel explains that the vibe was Lizzie McGuire meets Mary-Kate and Ashley. "I was talking to the hairstylist and was like, where did you get all of those amazing hair clips? We were shooting at a mall, so he literally walked in Claire's and grabbed all the accessories. I was like, wow, that is amazing."
Wow.
That said, I do think that Gen Z will grow out of Claire's, much like how millennials did. And while teenagers might be able to pull off butterfly clips, I don't see many 30-year-olds whipping out those accessories for daily wear. It's possible that Claire's will die off again when demand goes down. But if they're able to keep adapting to the newest generation or grow their target market, then there is a chance Claire's will continue to be around for a lot longer than we ever thought possible. Personally, I don't think that's a great thing or a horrific one either. The vagueness around their ear piercing policy and the reaction to the asbestos in their makeup sure as hell doesn't make me pleased with Claire's, nor does it make me want to shop with them for the record.
Not
but
great.
They're by no means the worst company I've ever covered. So if you want to relive your colorful 90s fantasies or take part in the new 90s inspired trend, then by all means, head over to your local relic of the past or mall or outdoor shopping center or wherever, maybe head into a Claire's. Though, if you want to get your ears pierced, maybe just go to a reputable piercing shop instead. But with all of that being said, that's where we're going to be ending today's extra episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and
any tattoo shop will do a better job of piercing than fucking Claire's. No, don't do that.
It's that time of the month, and you've suddenly found out that you're out of what you need. When you waltz into the store to spend an outlandish amount of money for something you physically cannot live without, you're met with a plethora of options. But which one will you choose? Your mind flashes back to all the commercials, all the ads you've seen on TV and on the internet, and surely you don't want to go with the company that uses that stupid blue liquid to showcase its product, right? Like, why are we even doing that in the first place? You seriously doubt that buying from a brand that uses peppy, sporty, excited models in the advertisements will give you the same feeling. But wait, there is one company that seems to advertise its products in a more accurate way: thinx. The underwear for your time of the month. It's as easy as getting dressed and going about your day, even if your day is just laying around with some fried food and some chocolate cake. Their advertisements are enticing, and the company is run by the girl boss of all girl bosses.
And we invented thinx. It's Thinx. And it's a beautiful pair of underwear that's breathable, washable, comfortable, but also you'll never leak or stink through them. In fact, I'm wearing them right now. I can show you. There you go.
Oh my god.
Miki Agrawal seems to have won every reward for her company and innovation under the sun. She prides herself on women's empowerment and complete transparency. So far, there's no reason not to buy the underwear, except maybe the price. But in the long run, you might actually spend less because of the stupid tampon tax.
The so-called tampon tax.
Known as the tampon tax.
The tampon tax.
Tampon tax.
Tampon tax.
So, like millions of other people, you decide to go ahead and buy them. What could go wrong? Well, you could find out that everything was a lie. Miki wasn't this magical, awesome, sweet woman trying to make the world a better place. She had been treating her employees terribly.
Are you telling me people would lie on the internet?
For years, was accused of sexual harassment, and doesn't seem to take accountability for anything literally ever. That whole honesty thing, apparently that's a lie too, both for Miki and her company. It turns out that incredible organic, chemical-free product might not be all it's cracked up to be. Yeah, thinx wasn't the saving grace we all thought it was, but at this point, are we really surprised anymore? Well, I mean, like, maybe not surprised, but certainly annoyed and frustrated by the entire situation. So what is the full story of the period underwear company that went bad? Let's find out on today's episode of The Corporate Casket. Now, of course, I'm the Illuminati or Blair Zahn. Hello, they can call me either, that's fine, Lumi also works. And before we dive right on into this really disgraceful situation, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons over at patreon.com/Illuminati. If you're interested in becoming a patron, it is there. When thinx first came out with its groundbreaking marketing, people seemed to rejoice. First off, we weren't seeing those stupid commercials with people with their time of the month running around on a soccer field instead of laying in their bed crying surrounded by chocolate and a heating pad, because let's be honest, that's the actual experience of a lot of folks. Instead, the thinx advertisements decided to go in a more realistic direction, poking fun at the promotions of the past. Despite their little fight with the New York City subway system, who thought the ads were too slightly realistic to the point of being inappropriate, the company's advertisement campaigns for a
Why? I'm sorry, what?
Too slightly realistic to the point of being inappropriate, the company's advertisement campaigns for a product that didn't involve a string or a diaper-like mechanism seemed to absolutely explode. The new underwear brand was all the rage, and the entrepreneur superstar who created the company, Miki, was raking in the praise. Her business had been named in the Most Innovative Companies list by Fast Company and was included in Time magazine's 25 Best New Inventions. By most accounts, the new CEO, and yes, this is actually what she called herself, which should have been the
Ew! CEO? What the fuck?
First big red flag was girl bossing her way to disrupting a multi-billion-dollar industry and introducing a new product to the world that could change menstruating people's lives. She also developed a plan to donate a portion of all thinx proceeds to women's organizations around the world. This woman sounded like a saint, but while the praises were rolling in, there was something much different going on in the background. I mean, truthfully, if she was this wonderful, we wouldn't be talking about her today. As it turns out, Miki may not have been the little ray of sunshine she portrayed to the world, and her view on feminism definitely raised a few eyebrows. Her company and her brand were meant to be a feminist utopia. I mean, a company that is actually honest about their marketing for menstrual products and claim to be solving all the previous failures of the past options? Yeah, pretty feminist, like, hell yeah, thank you for actually thinking about us. But for Miki, this claim was almost insulting. In an interview, she proudly announced that she actually doesn't relate to feminism because, quote, every time I thought about the word feminist, I thought about the angry, ranty girl. And okay, I'll hand it to you. Feminism, especially white feminism, definitely has its issues. But this type of quote just falls into the same rhetoric that people against equality frequently use when trying to weaken the movement. If you're trying to create and promote a brand by women for women with all the best girl boss intentions, then this probably isn't the right mindset to be in. For Mickey though, this was just a tiny drop in the bucket in relation to all the other terrifying things she has allegedly done and said. According to her employees, the founder, who had the world by the heart and the purse strings, wasn't as bubbly and kind as she appeared to the public. She wasn't even close. On Glassdoor, 6 of the 9 reviews that were available back in 2017 were aggressively negative. One called Mickey a time bomb and a liability, while another called her a bully.
Sheesh.
Of course, there were some good ones about her, but some of the employees claimed that people had either been pressured to write good reviews or that Mickey had written one herself. They jokingly referred to it as the Glassdoor Wars. As time went on, the accusations just kept getting worse. Employees who talked to the New Yorker said that Mickey, who ran the alleged body positive company, continuously fat shamed her employees and commented on their bodies behind their backs.
What the fuck, dude? That's awful. She does seem pretty terrible.
The office had its ice cream Fridays. Mickey apparently told people the treat should be changed to fruits because the employees were too heavy. She also allegedly suggested a team-wide no sugar detox, so that doesn't sound very body positive to me, but okay. Apparently though, the fat shaming was just the beginning of Mickey commenting on her employees' appearances. She had a habit of doing that a lot. So much so, in fact, that employees of the company have claimed that she sexually harassed them. In 2017, Mickey found herself to be the subject of a sexual harassment lawsuit filed by the former head of public relations at the company, Chelsea Libo. The allegations were horrific, might I add. When Chelsea first arrived at the company, she was comforted by the openness and honesty. But only a month after arriving, it seemed like the script had flipped. Suddenly, Mickey was telling Chelsea that she had an obsession with her breasts and even touched Chelsea without her permission. Slowly but surely, it became a pattern. Mickey would apparently comment on how Chelsea's breasts looked in multiple outfits. Mickey would even change in her glass-walled office, exposing herself to staff. And when she was
dude, what the fuck?
Confronted about it, she simply said, "I forgot that's not a normal thing to do until you brought that up." Like, no shit, Mickey.
You forgot?
No matter how open and free your office is, changing in front of your staff and sexually harassing them are certainly not normal fucking things to do. And just going like, oh yeah, like I totes my goats forgot. Like, babe, no. What the fuck? Like, babe, you founded this company. You can't be stupid too. Additionally, she allegedly told her assistant repetitively how hot she thought she was, talked to her employees in detail about her sex life, and told a detailed story of how one of her employees had her nipples pierced to multiple audiences during a talking tour. And that is, of course, without the employee's permission. So, yeah, bad is kind of an understatement. Eventually, after voicing complaints multiple times, Chelsea was fired. After the ordeal, Chelsea told the world how she felt, saying, quote, "I felt that Mickey objectified my body when she declared that she was obsessed with it and made very detailed comments about my breasts. And it also seemed like a way for Mickey to assert her dominance over female employees by simply doing whatever she wanted to do without asking and showing."
And literally just behaving like a 1950s male CEO. Like, what's wrong with you?
She could get away with it. And in my opinion, Chelsea seems absolutely correct here. This was 100% objectification and disgusting behavior from a person that claimed to be all about women's empowerment, openness, and togetherness. This was not a safe environment for women to work in, and with literally no HR staff at the company, there was not one employee who could go to voice their concerns about the founder. If that isn't intimidation tactics, then I don't really know what is. But Mickey, not shockingly, adamantly denies all the claims against her and even wrote her own blog post to tell her side of the story. She acknowledges that she made mistakes, some of the biggest being that she didn't hire an HR person in the beginning. She claims that Chelsea showed her nipple piercings to her joyfully, but never addresses the accusations that she had told the story to massive groups of people, or the other claims of sexual harassment for that matter. In the end, she simply said, "I learned that these kinds of things could get twisted out of context after employees get fired and used as extortion tactics to try and get money." Eventually, after 2 years, the allegations against Mickey were dropped in court, so they will simply remain as allegations. Still, that doesn't give Mickey, or her company for that matter, a free pass. Because beyond the alleged fat shaming and sexual harassment, there were other things going on within thinx that make it sound like a hellscape of a working environment. Unfortunately, Mickey's extremely concerning and allegedly super predatory behavior is not the only thing the employees had to deal with when working for thinx. While many joined because they believed in the mission and the sales pitch of empowerment, they would soon come to learn that that message seemed to be only reserved for their customers, definitely not for the staff. While thinx was generating tens of millions of dollars in revenue, the staff was apparently being left behind. Many who spoke to reporters anonymously said that they had taken a pay cut or accepted their jobs at below market rate salary. In fact, some say the jobs were paying roughly $30,000 below the market rate. But that's pretty understandable for a startup, and the employees were sure that they would be able to make it up later when they exploded in popularity. But that's not what happened. Instead, people that attempted to negotiate a raise even after taking on higher titles were allegedly dismissed as ungrateful. And as a general reminder, there was no HR department here, so all of this was being handled directly by Mickey. Apparently, when people would come to her asking for a raise, she would tell them that they were young, that they were only in their 20s, and that they didn't need money to live. Money right after getting out of school and moving out on your own is definitely not important at all, right? Like, people can just get through life with a smile and some lollipops. I'm sure the landlord will accept those as rent payment, right? In a pretty ironic twist of fate, there were at least 2 people who did successfully get a raise in the beginning. It was 2 of the few white men who worked at the company. So, interesting. The situation almost immediately got worse when in 2016, a spontaneous email let the staff know that their paid vacation days were being slashed from 21 to 14 days a year, and there was no more health insurance, which before it was cut allegedly cost about $200 per month at the cheapest rate. When the staff had an all-hands meeting, some employees began to cry, but Mickey was allegedly unfazed. Then there was also the parental leave policies. Now, the United States by itself is already pretty shitty at providing parental leave. When looking at 41 developed countries, the United States is the only one that doesn't mandate companies give parental leave to their employees. Isn't that just lovely? But even with the standards for this benefit, which should be a given, being on the damn
America moment
ground, thinx still seemed to shock everyone by how little they offered. They were supposed to be a woman-centered company after all. Just how bad was it, you ask? 2 weeks. That's it. 2 weeks leave at full pay. After that, they got 1 full week at half pay, and then you're just screwed, I guess. For those who haven't had a baby or who just don't know, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommend at least 6 weeks off work after giving birth. So in essence, thinx was willing to pay for half of it. But don't worry, they gave the non-birthing parents something too, and it was still awful. 1 full week at full pay and 1 week at half pay, because honestly after that, like, who needs to take care of the baby, right? It can just take care of itself. So you're already paying these people under market value. Some were saying they couldn't even afford birth control. I seriously doubt they were even able to save. Then to top it off, you expect them to either go 3 weeks at least without pay to stay home with a baby or go back to work when it was physically and emotionally bad to do so. And all of this comes from a company that sold its whole product under a woman's empowerment stance. Clearly, that was all bullshit and they in no way practice what they preach. And listen, I get it was a startup.
The fact that they used, like, plus-size models for their ads and marketing and, like, their website, like, you would think that they wouldn't be fucking fatphobic to their employees, but I guess not.
And those are hard, and the company exploded quickly. But we're talking about, like, the bare minimum here. Pay your employees a living wage, give them parental leave, and don't sexually harass them. It's really not that hard. Mickey eventually addressed these issues with the public in her little "Don't be mad at me, I'm a human who makes mistakes" blog post. And don't worry about the minimal pay. She took the team on a magical team retreat weekend to Shakespeare-on-the-Hudson, so that fixes everything. She also proudly announced that almost all of the team was able to get bonuses for hitting their sales targets. Sure, they didn't get market-based pay at first, but the bonuses at the end of the year made up for all of that. Except it didn't. She casually didn't bring up an explanation for the horrid parental leave policy either. Eventually, all of these things would come to bite the company squarely in its ass. 10 people quit the 30-person team, and Mickey, thankfully, stepped down as CEO. CEO. Don't worry about her, though. She has 2 other companies now, and I'll be sure to keep an eye on those after everything I've just learned. Now, this brand was in rebuild mode, looking to remold its image and keep its rapid growth in an upward trend. Enter Maria Moland. The new powerhouse executive came in to save the day and save thinx from certain death. She hired 2 human resource employees because, obviously, beefed up the benefits package, and changed the family leave to 12 weeks fully paid. That sounds a hell of a lot better and makes a lot more sense for a company with this type of branding. This new working environment saved the company from the brink of disaster and doubled the staff. Because, and I know this is shocking, people want to work for companies with good benefits, good pay, and a good mission. I know, it's kind of crazy, but it's a thing.
What?
I'm just shocked at this completely new revelation. While you may think, though, that this is the end of the thinx story, you would be wrong. Sure, their company dynamics had improved exponentially, but what about the product? Well, as it turns out, the magical period panties had some pretty serious problems of their own. When you think about it, it's really no surprise that thinx got so big in such a quick amount of time. The marketing was incredible, and people who menstruate are sick and tired of the same old products that are either outrageously uncomfortable or inherently dangerous. I'm sure one or two of us have freaked out about toxic shock syndrome. I have all the frickin' time. You know, when you leave the tampon in just a little too long, you guys know the deal. Let's be honest, it's pretty terrifying. I've absolutely freaked out. One time I fell asleep with one and I woke up and I was like, this is it, I'm gonna die, this is how it ends. Like, we've all been there, I'm sure. So when thinx came out with the most elegant period product most of us had never seen, it's not really surprising that people ate that up. It couldn't be more simple. Just throw on some underwear and go about your day. It was the stress-free period protection. Their advertisements had made people believe that the underwear was safe, healthy, and sustainable. Not usually the words used for period products, right? But there were some issues. First off, how did they even work? Now, if you Google it, you would assume that, yeah, they're great, because influencers exist and people get paid to promote products. However, there was one review I found that was incredibly in-depth, might I add, that made me start to think a little bit differently. The independent reviewer said that thinx was not by any means a free-flow product, meaning it couldn't replace the other items you were using, it was just meant to be used in addition to them. Then there was the price, which was admittedly pretty steep.
Dude, wait, what? That's for sure false advertising.
4 pairs of underwear cost a little more than $100. If they worked well, maybe it was worth it, but if they didn't, then not so much in my eyes. But the review is really the least of the concerns when it comes to thinx. What's even more concerning is their safety. Remember, they were supposed to be sustainable and safer than what we've had before, but soon it was discovered that this wasn't necessarily the case. In January 2020, Sierra Magazine published an investigation that found PFAS in the crotch area of thinx underwear. PFAS are human-made chemicals that do not break
Oh my god. Of course. Of course.
down and are linked to multiple health issues. These can range from a disruption of hormonal functions to accelerated ovarian aging and period irregularities. For pregnant women, PFAS has been associated with a plethora of problems like high blood pressure and preeclampsia. So in essence, they're not something you just want to be exposed to for a long period of time. Plus, since they're kind of forever chemicals and they never break down, our bodies can't metabolize it either. Of course, thinx sprang into action to deny this and hired 2 consultants to dispute the findings. Shortly after, they did a little editing of their promotional material. No longer did it promise that PFAS was nowhere in their underwear, now it simply said they were free of PFOA, which is a little suspicious, a little weird. Despite their efforts to alter their material, a lawsuit came rolling their way. And while you think it may have focused on the safety of the products, the class action actually focused on the marketing. Thinx had been telling the world that their products were organic, sustainable, and non-toxic, and as it turns out, it wasn't true. According to attorneys, this made the superstar product effectively useless. To no one's surprise, Thinx completely denies that they have misled their customers, and a spokesperson told NPR that PFAS had never been involved in their product, and they took the effort to ensure that there were no chemicals in their underwear. But the big problem was it was still found in the underwear, so clearly they weren't trying that hard, at least not in my opinion. Regardless, Thinx still came to a settlement in the class action lawsuit in January 2023. Though the settlement does not mean that Thinx admits to any guilt or wrongdoing because, of course. The terms of their agreement guaranteed refunds for people who had bought their product between 2016 to 2023. But don't get too excited about those because they're kind of flimsy. If you were to apply for them, you could get $7 back if there is a receipt and $3 if there wasn't. As many people mentioned on Twitter, this was pretty lackluster for underwear that cost $35 individually. As one user said, the settlement amount is trash. There's something inherently upsetting about a product claiming to be safe and chemical-free in this specific space. People have been searching for products they can use without having to worry about the health implications for longer than anyone can remember. And just when we think we finally have one, it turns out that it was a lie. Then you can only get a very, very tiny portion of your money back even after they've been sued for it. There's a long history of a lack of oversight in the world of hygiene products, and a lot of products have never been fully tested or understood. Basically, we've been flying blind for a while. But when companies say their products are safe and organic, we hope that we can trust them. Unfortunately, thinx seem to have proved that this isn't the case, and other products are coming under fire for making the same false promises. Now listen, I know we're all sick of tampons and pads. They're uncomfortable, they're dangerous, they're not safe for the environment. So we're looking for new and interesting products. Companies are aware of this, and the market seems to be growing every second. But all of those safe alternatives have hit quite a few speed bumps. Newsflash, pretty much all menstrual products suck. I know, I hate to be the one to drop.
They're all not great. I think some people have success with the Diva Cup. I haven't tried it. I wouldn't know.
The news on you, but unfortunately, I don't really ever share good news. For example, there's the company l8r, which sells a line of organic products. Started by Jordana Kier, it's an alternative to tampons full of dyes, synthetic fabrics, and fragrances, which, quick side note, why do we even need to do that in the first place? We're just looking for functionality. Not everything has to look pretty or smell good. When l8r came around, they promised to fix that issue, and as an added bonus, they have worked with organizations working to end the sales tax on menstrual products. Regardless of what I'm about to say, this shit really needs to happen. But unfortunately for l8r and their customers, despite all the good they promised, they might have fallen flat. In July 2021, a class action lawsuit was introduced that claimed l8r tampons could unravel at the least opportune moment. Allegedly, the products don't have the protective coating that stops them from falling apart while inside. One woman says she bought the products from Walmart and upon first use found they had disintegrated and left pieces of cotton behind. And I'm sorry, but that sounds terrifying. This lawsuit does seem to still be pending, so we will have to see what happens there. Now, there is another lawsuit against Procter & Gamble that was filed in 2022 claiming that their 100% organic tampons included titanium dioxide. Kotex, who sold their own type of organic and safe product, recently agreed to a $7 million lawsuit for selling defective tampons. Basically, if you look up the words tampons and lawsuits, you'll get a couple pages worth of companies that have been sued for defective products or false advertisement. It's upsetting to say the least. Now, you may have been one of those people that turned to the menstrual cup in recent years. And while they may seem messy as hell, it's easy to see the appeal. They can be washed and reused. That's great for the environment and wonderful for your wallet. Because we all know that menstrual products cost way too much money. But are they safe? Well, kind of. Unfortunately, the cups are still associated with TSS or the toxic shock syndrome, but the risk is way lower than with a tampon. However, you are more likely to experience some irritation, and the cup could possibly suction to your cervix if you're not careful. It's rare, but it's possible. However, I don't find the list of lawsuits that I do with underwear or tampons for this product, so it seems that this might just be your best bet if you're uncomfortable with a pad. Unfortunately, it still seems like we're pretty far away from getting products that are completely safe, reliable, and hopefully not expensive as hell. I hope whoever creates it does it fast and doesn't torment their employees in the process. Maybe one day we won't have to worry about health implications of simply trying to survive during the already miserable time of the month, but I won't exactly hold my breath. And with all of that being said, that is where we are going to end today's episode of The Corporate Casket. I hope you learned something new here today, and if you did, make sure that you're liking, following, and subscribing to stay up to date on all the latest episodes. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I know there's 1.5 million things you could be doing, and yet you chose a couple minutes here with me, so thank you so much. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Very good. Very good. Wonderful. It's fun time. That's right.
Right now because I feel like I have to emphasize how low budget this video.
This is kind of an old video. 12 days. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Hello. So I'm sitting on the floor right now because I feel like I have to emphasize how low budget this video is. This is a very last minute thing I decided to do because I got so many requests from people asking me to review the Oscar red carpet looks or champagne carpet looks. I've picked out 8 of my favorite looks from the Oscars red carpet, and I keep saying red carpet, champagne carpet, which was a terrible idea, by the way. I think champagne is an ugly color and it's just a nice word to use instead of beige, but it was a beige carpet. And I read about it and I know why they chose it. And apparently it was because they had like an orange tent that was covering everything to keep the people who were attending the event out of the sun and the rain. And they wanted it to be an easier transition from day to nighttime. I don't know, but they chose an orange tent and they felt like a red carpet would not match an orange tent. And so they were inspired by the idea of like a beach and a sunset, and they went with this sandy color. The only thing is, I'm sure it probably looked nice with the orange tent towering over, but as a viewer on TV and just like as someone who's looking at these photos later, you don't see that orange tent. All you're seeing is this very beige, like 90s carpet look. It's just a dingy looking carpet. And I'm sure it looked even worse after all the foot traffic by the end of the night. Yeah, I don't think it was a glamorous choice, and I hope that they don't pick it again because I don't know anyone who enjoyed it. And also so many of the people who wore dresses chose like beige or white dresses. And that didn't end up looking good on the red carpet because it washed them out. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, rant over. Let's get on to the champagne carpet looks. The first look I want to talk about is Rihanna for Alaya. And this is one of my favorite looks. I think she looks stunning. Rihanna always looks stunning. Her performance outfit was also stunning.
Gorgeous.
Something that I really like about this dress is the two materials that they use. So I can't really tell what it is from a photo, but I think it's like a leather and some kind of chiffon, some kind of soft fabric, and I liked that juxtaposition. But also the leather is not like a hard leather. Like it's still a very soft, buttery looking leather. So there's still a lot of like flow within the whole look. This dress is beautiful and I love the train. I'm speechless. A look I didn't love, okay, Elizabeth Banks wearing Vivienne Westwood. And y'all know I'm a Vivienne Westwood girly. I love Vivienne Westwood.
What is
this? This gown, it just looks a little bit messy. Like I can't really tell what's happening construction wise, which is never a good thing. I think like it's really just this back piece that makes no sense and makes it look kind of odd. I think without it, it could be a very sleek looking dress, but with it on, it just kind of looks like she threw a blanket on herself. Also, she almost fell at the Oscars ceremony wearing this dress. So there's just a lot of cursed things happening about it. Speaking of blankets, another look is Florence Pugh's Valentino look. And a lot of people on my Twitter were blowing up this look, tearing it to shreds.
I love this. Are you kidding? I think this is wonderful. I think this is so wonderful. I'm obsessed. Who doesn't want to wear a blanket?
Even though, let me backtrack. I liked the over bodice piece. I love the sleeves and the train. I didn't like the little black dress skirt thing that was underneath this beige dress, which again, because it's on this champagne carpet, it just doesn't look good. And you know, there were criticisms that the dress is swallowing her. I don't know. There's still some elements of tailoring, specifically at the bra area, but I can see where those criticisms came from. For me, it was really just the little black thing underneath. I think it would have looked nicer if it was maybe just a long black skirt. It doesn't help that she's wearing these like platform shoes, which kind of look a little chuggy. I don't know. The hair and makeup is really nice though. Another look I loved was Cate Blanchett's Louis Vuitton dress. And this might be unpopular because I feel like it's not.
I don't love this. I don't. There's no structure. It's just amorphous.
That memorable, and even people were joking that this is a dress that she's wearing not to win an Oscar, but I think it looks very sleek, and I think she wears it very well. Cate Blanchett just wears a lot of things very well because she's very tall. I love.
Is it fashion or is she just skinny?
The shoulder detail. I think she looks really good in strong shoulders. I usually hate a color blocking moment because I think color blocking, it's very easy for it to look not cohesive, but the way that the top is draping, it blends really well into the bottom skirt. So even though they are completely two different colors, it still looks elegant. Speaking of color blocking moments, okay, this dress I really can't stand. It's the one that Lily Patterson wore, and I think
Yeah, that yellow is just a little off. If the pink or the yellow were a little different shades, it could be a lot better.
the design really can't stand. It's the one that Lily Patterson wore, and I think the designer is Kolchagov Barba. This is what I mean when I say color blocking can look really sloppy, and it's because the colors just don't mesh well together. This very chartreusey lime top that ends at a weird point, and then there's a sliver of red covering her belly button, and then a fuchsia skirt that has a red underskirt. I don't know how I could even think of improving it. I think it really just, one of those colors needs to go. 3 is too many. And also, I really don't like the fit of.
I don't think 3 is too many. I think if the yellow was maybe a little bit more of a burnt umber, like almost, no, like a sienna. I think sienna would look really pretty there. Oh, I think I'm getting sick. Oh my god. Wait. Sienna yellow. Hello. Hello? Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Oh. This. If it was more orangey, I think it would look really good. Because then it would be more like analogous. This yellow is like kind of a cool yellow. These are very warm. Very warm colors. I think that would be acceptable, even if it was a lighter, like this. Yes, like that. That would be so pretty. I don't mind color blocking. It just has to be done right.
Of the top part, I think it's just, it makes her torso look very long, but not in a flattering way. And it's just messy. The whole thing is just messy. A bold color look that I really loved was Angela Bassett's look. Angela Bassett did the thing. And she's wearing Moschino. And it is so whimsical. I think the color is really flattering on her, and also is a good nod to Black Panther.
This is so gorgeous. That's a gorgeous dress. Wow.
Panther, which is what she was nominated for. The color of the royal family in Black Panther is purple. So it's like a subtle nod to that, but it's not like overwhelmingly like I'm representing Black Panther on the champagne carpet. I just think that the way that it's draped on her body is beautiful. I love the asymmetry of the top and of the skirt. It kind of like all sways this way, which I think is really elegant and really nice. She's a standout for sure. And this is an Oscar-winning dress, so I'm sad she didn't get it. Let's keep the mood up. Another dress that is one of my favorites, and I'm kind of biased towards this because I can see a lot of 1910s references in here, but Sandra Oh's Giambattista Valli, oh my God, Giambattista Valli dress. Never gonna get invited to that show if I keep acting like that. Yeah, this is a beautiful gown. I love the color. It's extremely flattering on her. I love the jewelry and
I love the draping on the side and the sleeves.
How there's a little like bit of the orange color in the jewelry, which really ties everything nicely. Y'all are familiar with late 1910s silhouettes, like the cocoon coats. Look up like Poiret's designs because these gowns were really inspired by the Orient. It was the 1910s, and also by the Regency dresses, which were also inspired by like ancient Greek dresses. And I think that there's just something very, very flattering about a drapey dress, a dress that's draped in the right way. This is going to be a polarizing statement, I know, but I am not a huge fan of Ana de Armas's dress. She's wearing Louis Vuitton. I think the dress itself, honestly, like the train of it with the little ruffles at the bottom, it is really pretty, but I think the choice was not very tasteful. The dress that she's wearing looks so similar to the Kim Kardashian, like Marilyn Monroe dress scandal. And I know Ana is nominated for playing Marilyn, or a bastardized version of Marilyn. And so I see the homage she was trying to go for, but this specific Marilyn Monroe dress just got so much bad press and controversy during the Met Gala. I just don't think it's worth it to dig that up again. And it almost felt like a little bit desperate versus I think if she went for a dress similar to Marilyn's pink dress or her white dress, or a more deep cut Marilyn dress that people would have to look on Pinterest and on the internet to find the reference of. I think that would have been a more tasteful, a more appropriate, a more interesting homage than what this was. What I didn't see enough people talking about is Jessie Buckley's Rodarte gown. I mean, this is just showing.
Oh my God. Yes. Slay. This is amazing. I'm obsessed. The big ass sleeves. Ugh. The embroidery. Gorge.
My bias because, you know, I love a Victorian sleeve, leg of mutton sleeve, and I love Rodarte, and it's just like so feminine and so ethereal. It's a silhouette that we haven't really seen very often at the Oscars, and we definitely didn't see it at this Oscars, so I think it stands out in that sense. But I think it's just a lovely dress, and I think it fits her energy very well because she is kind of this like more edgy actress. She's taken more edgy roles, and this dress is like the perfect mesh between like a classic elegant silhouette with you know, more gothic flair. I love this look, and I love this look especially on her. Okay, I love Carrie Condon in Banshees. I think she's such a fun and talented actress, but this gown, I was not into it. One, it looks terrible on the champagne carpet, but you know, that's not her fault. That's the champagne carpet's fault. It just looks very prom dress.
I feel like nothing looks good on this carpet. What is this color? It's like gray. Why? It's just kind of basic.
See to me. And I know it's Versace, and I know it's like super, super, super expensive, but there's just not anything particularly interesting about it. If she wanted to go for this color, I actually thought Winnie Harlow's look was really nice. Winnie's dress is a similar color, and so it was also washed out by the champagne carpet, but I think that the silhouette of it was a little bit more interesting. It had this cool zipper detail, which she told the fashion commenters was a a working zipper. It looks like it has this little like applique on it, which is also like very on trend. I've noticed a lot of floral appliques on the runway and also on the carpet. It's a simple dress, but it has these little details that make it interesting, versus I feel like Carrie Condon's dress is simple and uninteresting. Another look I didn't love. Lily Singh's look.
Oh, that's unfortunate. This could be so good if it was tailored. It's like a size too big, too. Which can be a look, too, but it's just a bit much. I think it's a little too long. It's like making her look short.
Which was this oversized tuxedo, and it was made by Christian Siriano. I think it just swallows her. It's a little bit too oversized, and I can't really tell what the construction is just from this photo, but it's like the blazer jacket thing blends in with the flared pants. You know what it's giving? It's giving 3 kids in a trench coat. I just think that if it was skinnier at the bottom, or if something different happened with this blazer, then I would be for it. But as it stands, 3 kids in a trench coat. The only man I have on this list is Paul Mescal. Paul Mescal is wearing Gucci, and Gucci honestly knows what they're doing when it comes to suits. I'm not gonna lie. Let me tell you, I have to be really impressed when it comes to suits, because we see them so often. And another thing that the commentators...
I'm not crazy about this combo. Like the black pant, white shirt, white tux. But at least the whites aren't clashing. The whites work together, and that's the most important part.
Like the ABC commentators for the red carpet were doing that was driving me crazy is that for every suit look, they were just like, oh, he's looking so classic. A lot of classic men on the red carpet, or the champagne carpet. And it's like, just say that the looks are boring. The point is, I've seen lots of suits, and I'm not very impressed with lots of suits. But I really like Paul Mescal's because it looks very vintage. Just like the boxy shoulder, the flare pants. The flare pants really sell it. You can just tell the suit fits him really well, and he looks fine. Okay, the last look I didn't love was Ashley Graham's ensemble. I'm not into this like booty shorts underneath a skirt, and I've seen that with a lot of people lately, and I'm not into the trend. I think I've done it, actually I've done it lots of times, and I think maybe because I've done this style, it's not groundbreaking to me, and it's not interesting, and it's just something that's more casual. So that's my issue with the bottom half. And then I think the top half,
I like it. I think it's hot. Honestly, like, no, I love this.
It's a little bit too distracting. Like, there's lots of crosses, there's this cutout, there's these like tendril sleeves. I think maybe if it just had the cutout and without the crosses at the midriff, then it would look nice even with the sleeves. I do think the sleeves is a good detail. I just think like it's too busy at the top. And also the skirt looks too long for her. Like the front of it is too long, and it needs, and I don't know, it looks like a tripping hazard. So I don't want her to trip. I think they should have hemmed that or gotten her a different skirt. Preferably, I would have liked them to have gotten her a different skirt. And actually, okay, looking at the details, I'm zooming in. I'm really zooming in. And the skirt has little like rhinestones or some kind of beading on it, but the top doesn't have any rhinestones or beading on it. So that annoys me, because now it's just not matching. The last look on my list that I'm going to talk about is Rooney Mara's archival Alexander McQueen dress. I am obsessed with this dress. And yes, it blends in with the champagne carpet, but I just think it's so unique. And especially like this little draping detail at the skirt and how it kind of ties off. I think that's really cool. It reminds
I hate it. I hate it. This, like, shape is so strange. And yeah, like the tie off is also very weird. I don't know.
Reminds me of the portrait that was used on the cover for My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which is the book I didn't like, but I love that painting. And I think that she looks really classic, literal classic, like classical Greece in this outfit. So the only thing is the styling. I think that on the runway, when you look at the runway, the model is wearing white tights and also these ballet slipper-esque shoes. And I think that would have been a nicer choice for her to just completely copy that runway, or at least wear ballet shoes. Something that I wish that more celebrities would do is wear archival clothing. Nowadays, it's just so obvious that they're getting paid to wear something that was just fresh off the runway. And a lot of the times, I feel like these runway looks don't even correlate with their own personal style, especially when we're talking about a house like Valentino or Chanel, where they dress a lot of celebrities. And so we're kind of just seeing a lot of the same type of looks because these looks are all derived from the same collection. And honestly, I think if Chanel and Valentino and all these designers want to assert their presence on the runway, they should be working with stylists to pull archival looks, because at least that's more interesting. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching this completely busted the last minute ordeal. I would love to know what your favorite look was. It doesn't have to be one that I talked about, just like your favorite look that you saw on the champagne carpet and your least favorite look from the champagne carpet. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Nice.
Hi, happy Monday. Guys, growing up, I was a loser. Yeah, I can't believe it either. I believed that if I did anything illegal, I would go to hell. Ouch! It smells so bad in here. Why does it smell so bad? I'm in hell. So in high school, I didn't drink any alcohol. I didn't smoke any cannabis. I didn't sneak out of the house. I didn't go to the party even. I didn't even swear. Not even a curse out of this mouth. And what a waste. What a waste of my youth. You know how people say that when you're young, you just feel invincible, like nothing can even hurt you. You can do anything you want. People look back and they wonder how they even got away with some of the stuff they did as a kid. Not me. I was perfect. I didn't do a thing wrong, and what was it all for, huh? I'm still a loser. Every day, I get messages from people calling me stuff like curly hair and pussy. They wipe your record clean when you're 18, so all your youthful hanky-panky is forgiven. But Nick missed that window. It's not even cool for me to smoke weed and drink alcohol anymore because it's legal. How is that cool? What's cool about the law? So I want to set out to have the experience that I never had as a kid.
What's cool about the law? Oh my god.
By going out and committing some heinous crimes on the street. A lot of times when adults miss out on common childhood dreams, they'll revisit them when they're old hags so they can sort of rekindle the whimsy of their salad days. Some people take a trip to Disneyland. Other people buy a pinball machine for their basement. Oh. And some people want to drive through red lights in the middle of the night when no one's around, so there's no risk involved, but they can still feel like they're rebelling since they never had the chance to do that as a kid.
So tonight is actually...
Is he really doing a crime and filming it? What are you doing?
It's raining pretty hard outside. So this is the intersection up here that I always had visualized for this video.
Oh no! So as we were driving, I was explaining my game plan to Dev. I want to minimize risk as much as I possibly can during this video so that nobody can tell me that I was putting anybody else in danger. And also, I don't want to hurt anybody, of course. First, I was going to find a 3-way intersection. This means that no matter which way I was running the red light, as long as I was on the main road, there's only one road in which cars can hit me from. Second, I was going to be approaching the red light from the far side of the intersection, which not only means cars would take longer to hit me, and they're farther away, but also that the only lane that can hit me in traffic is cars that are taking a left turn on the green. That means that as long as Dev is communicating with me and makes sure that there are no cars going through that lane of traffic or on that street in general, then there's no way I could get into a collision. And if we mix this with the fact that we're doing this in the middle of the night, on a work week in a pretty quiet neighborhood, we can get pretty close to a 100% rate of safety. Unfortunately for us, the rain wouldn't let up, and I knew that doing this experiment in harsh weather would increase the risk enormously.
So guys, I think we're gonna call an audible here and just make sure we stay safe. You know, as much as I want to break the law, I don't want anyone to get hurt. So we're not gonna do it tonight, but we did stake out the location, and tomorrow night we're gonna come back out
stake out the location where he's planning to safely run a red light. So wholesome.
Basically, get this guy's plate. See, I'm just trying to get used to being like a bad guy, you know?
And with my first taste of criminal activity, we decided to call it for the night and prepare for my next day of dastardly acts.
Dude.
On day 2, the whole day, I was just worried about this red light situation, what I was gonna have to do that night. Mostly because I felt like I was just jumping into it too fast. I realized that if I wanted to do this thing with full
headed for a life of crime
confidence, I needed to take some precautionary measures. So I created a 3-step plan for myself to make sure that I eliminate any chance of danger for myself or others during this experiment. These 3 steps are carefully designed to help me build my way up to having the confidence to run a red light rather than just go in full force. So here's some footage of me completing step 1.
What is up, guys? It's night 2. We're driving. We're back on the road. Listen, we are going to put in some precautionary measures to make sure that the snowflakes at home don't get mad at us for breaking the rules. Am I right, guys?
Listen, guys.
I'm gonna start with something real light. So we're gonna go find what was that? Hey, if you guys are listening right now, before I get juvenile, I'm going on tour with Dev Lemons. I'm gonna be playing the drums in the band of 2. So come along on the tour. The link's in the description.
Wait, did he actually make a band?
If you can make it, come say hi.
How you feeling? Be honest.
Wait, is he in a band? Wait, what? Hang on a minute. No? Yes? Queef jerky. Oh yeah, I think I heard about this. I think he said something.
I'm in chronic wrist pain. Chris James, I'm in a dog of these games. Chris James, your bitch lame. I'm in love, I'm like porcelain plain.
Pork belly soup, put my songs in the loop, put my hog in the stew, send my mouth to your boobs, send my babe to my boo, and the game with the noob and my pain. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts.
It hurts when I pee.
It hurts when you weep.
It pains me when you suffer.
I told that to your mother.
I told that to your therapist.
Your skin's the fairiest.
Would you like to marry this?
Did I just bite this porch? Did I just bite this horse? Did I just crack this torch? Did I just make this song? Did I just taste your mom? Did I just put on a thong? Oh my god. I'm in chronic wrist pain. Chris James, I'm a dog in these games. Chris James, your bitch lame. I'm in love, I'm like porcelain plain.
Holy shit, I love this shit. Oh my god, I love it. Queef stew? Let's go.
You are now listening to Queef Jerky.
Yeah, copy, paste it. Yeah, belly button, can I taste it? Him off, balls. Yeah, dip my balls in your vomit. Only watch homegrown Simpson stuff when only watch HGTV. What I got, no one to hold. Yeah, take your mom to the lake. And then I take her onto the lake. At the lake. Yeah. Ground. Yeah. And then she doesn't make a sound.
Hey, 10 feet deep in a ditch under the ground, yeah. I made a snug, I ain't even heard a sound, yeah. Ain't he pitching quick when he hits the mound? It's so loud, it's profound, always sneaking in the crowd, shit.
Have you ever seen a cat hunt a mouse and he's getting really happy as he runs around the house? I could play the same game in your bed with your spouse. When I'm rocking Queef Jerky, I get perky and I bounce. I'ma chop your balls and I'll nail them to the wall. Centerpiece, now you're crying, I can hear you down the hall. On your knees. I'ma chop your balls and I'll nail them to the wall. Centerpiece, now you're crying, I can hear you down the hall. On your knees.
The ENT come to the scene when I'm shitting on the beat. Beating the meat, spitting the seed when I tell you I'm a freak. Would you say that if I kissed you on the face, man? Would you say that if I bought you some new Ray-Bans? They voted me most generous in the city. I wish I saw Ellen DeGeneres so pretty. I wish they got finally sold pants that would fit me. I say Google Gaga, baby girl, why don't you sit me?
Deb just pulled up with the chicken noodle popsicle. Whole lot
Dude,
of my
this
cup,
song
yeah,
is
this
like
smoothie
8
is
minutes
tropical.
long.
Took the walk to Narnia, now I'm smoking Chronicle. Let's go, Riley! They root for me like Follicle. Imagine Dragons. J.R.R. Tolkien, Imagine Baggins. Got a huge ass, yeah, I'm dragging wagon. I just bought the cave that Bin Laden sat in. God damn! Lord of the Rings, I'm a hoarder of things. I'm getting kinda hungry, I might order some wings. I just saw your mom and I told her some things. Next time I saw her, I sold her some things. God damn it. Told you Dickie only plays in prime time. R.I.P. Regis, yeah, I think I need a lifeline. Can't respect the law, cause you know I think that crime's fine. Justin Long, will you please be a guest on Hive Mind?
I shit the bed, but I was just playing though. It's just a joke, why you acting like it's so gross? You probably sitting on the toilet on your fucking phone. I innovate, I poop while driving on the fucking road. I'll make it stanky, make it hot like a pizza roll. And when it comes to my shit, I'm the general. And your mom, she say she like it,
Life can really fathom where I'm supposed to be, park bench of this.
Oops. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm supposed to be park bench of the sidewalk, to running through the trees. It's another tightrope, I'm just falling free. It's another question of where I'm supposed to be. Life can really fathom the third person in me, right into my future. Self from leather seats, I'm a chicken time bomb. Can you even see? Do you even listen? Get close to me.
I didn't know. I didn't know he was so good. This is his first song? Bro. Let's go.
Life can really fathom the third person in me, right into my future. Self from leather seats, I'm a ticking time bomb. Can you even see? Do you even listen? Get close to me. I can't get it going. I can't even know. I can't get it going.
Wait, is that gonna work if I...
Run around town with your pen and feather. I'm 10 times better. Drop another line when you wanna get together. I feel much better. They tell me every time that you say something, but you say nothing. I wish I had a chance just to say something, but I can't do that. I can't
I'm white in the face. I want to make sure that I, exercise with caution, but all I can really do is feel like a criminal right now. Well, yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna eat a Laffy Taffy. I'm so nervous. This right here is the main street. And so if I jaywalk that way, that would be the more dangerous way. And even though there's no cars around, a car could come out of nowhere. So what I'm gonna do is actually hit the button so I can jaywalk this way, because this way is really short. It's one lane. I can tell if there's a car coming. Now for legal purposes, we're gonna blur me actually jaywalking so we don't film me doing any illegal things on camera, because I don't want to go, to prison. Here I go, guys.
Oh my god.
Go. It turned.
You have to do it again. Hurry, go this way.
No, that's more dangerous. So guys, it turned to a legal walk actually before I could get across. So I'm actually gonna hit the button again. Here you go.
Okay, go.
Ready?
Go.
Amazing. Epic. He's so cool. Wow. So cool.
Yes. Let's rein it in for the night. Let's go. I am on top of the world. Jaywalking was honestly a breath of fresh air for me, I spent all this time worrying about whether or not this lifestyle was for me, but after doing that,
it's a gateway crime.
I think that I'm built for it. And even though I wanted to just keep on going and push forward because I was so excited about everything, I knew I needed to just let the adrenaline leave my system and reflect on everything before I move on to step 2. What is up, guys? It's the next night. Who cares what number it is? I've spent the past few nights being too tired to even stay up. Right now, I'm so tired I can barely drive. Just a joke. For the second step of this process, I knew I had to really up my game, Committing crime on foot is just child's play at this point, so it was time to take it to the next level. We returned to the intersection that we were at the very first night, so we could get started on step 2. So step 2 is gonna be me just stopping at the red light and then just rolling through it safely and slowly. Oh shit.
Oh god. Okay, I'll get out now. Hello?
Hello, boss. Oh, it's turning red. Okay, here I go. Okay, I'm at a stop. Are we good to go?
Yep. There's no one coming.
Okay, here we go. I'm going through. Oh my gosh. Oh, guys, I just broke the law. That was just completely licious of me.
Oh, that was so licious.
And with my dubious crime out of the way, I swung around, picked Dev up, and we were ready to rein it in for the night.
Oh god, there's another car coming. What if they get me? Hurry.
Crap.
Oh, they went away.
Woo! I feel good. I tell you, when I hit
Badass.
the gas and I went through the red light from a slow speed, that was just something else, man. And with my heart full and my bones strong, I could confidently say that I was ready to fully run a red light the following night. Wow, that rhymed.
Wow.
I never thought I'd be here, saying this, doing this.
I have to stand in the middle of it to really get a good look.
Crime really changes you, man.
Honestly, I could just do that. Yeah, I should stand in the middle of the road. That would be kind of awesome. I need to stand in the middle. So awesome. Oh, God!
This whole thing could go downhill any second. You need to be ready.
I'm gonna have to U-turn and run the red light when it's there, but we need to time everything perfectly. Now, as we approached the moment of truth, I explained to Dev that this really only works if we time everything exactly right. Because we were coming down the main street, most of the time the light was already green, so Dev would not only have to hit the crosswalk to make it red, but at the same time I'm approaching, we also have to make sure that there are no cars within any line of vision at all. I wasn't gonna risk my own career over being impatient, so I will take as long as I need in order to get this done. As I drove my car into its starting position,
all of these worries started to pile on top of me. A car could show up at the very last second, the light could change right before I'm approaching it, a pedestrian or a miscellaneous object could just show up in the middle of the street, and then next thing you know, I'm on the jury for manslaughter. And as I drove towards that red light for the first time, things got pretty hectic over the phone.
There's red light now. There's red light now. Go.
I got a U-turn.
Hurry, please. I'm so freaked. Okay, go now.
Okay, but there has to be no cars.
But right at the last second, everything went perfectly. And on my very first try, this happened.
No, there's no cars right now, and there's like 5 seconds until the red light. So come now. Hurry.
Am I good?
There's still no cars. There he is. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Yes. Please come get me. I'm so scared.
Hurry, get in my car, lady. Wow, guys. I cannot believe I did it. I can't believe that we did it on our first try, too. It's like it all lined up. It was like God intended for this to happen. You know, it's like God was the reason why I was so scared of doing these things in the first place. But it seems like he himself has brought this crime straight to us.
You know, I think this experiment changed my life. I was so afraid of laws and safety, but as I got out of my comfort zone and I fully committed to these nefarious acts, I feel like this big weight was lifted off my shoulders. Genuinely, I really did have a crazy rush of energy just filled through every bone in my body when I was crossing through that red light. Like something changed in me when I did this. Now, I don't really know what this means for me. I don't know if this is like a gateway for me to commit more dastardly acts, and if it is,
That's what I'm
then
saying.
I would get
It's a gateway crime. It's the first crime. It's well known.
out of the area if you're anywhere near me. But overall, I feel like, if anything, I got it out of my system. I was so angry for so long, and after crossing through that boundary, you know, that legal boundary, I feel like I can let go of some grudges in my life. Anyways, we'll see whether or not you hear about me on the news, but until then, thank you for watching this video. If you liked this one and you want to see more like it, you should watch my video from 2 weeks ago. And you should tell me what your suggestions are for videos in the future by emailing me here. All my channels are linked below. My band with Dev called Queef Jerky, we just came out with a new song called Chris James. It's about Chris James. And I have a new song also. Who gives a shit about it?
I do.
Okay, bye.
Can this guy get out of the way? Get this guy's plates. Get this guy's plates. This guy. I've had a stressful week, and I feel like, you know, completing this task was sort of therapeutic for me in a sense.
Okay, I know I'm not invited to the Oscars, but what if I was? Like, what would I wear? If you have never wondered about that, you're lying. Or you're just a very straight man. Let's do this. Let's just try and do this.
Let us.
I did not know what to choose. I ended up with black fabric, so basic, but I thought it's perfect for all those like sculptural things, and then I thought I don't actually want any sculptural things. So turns out if I was ever invited to the Oscars, I would be the most basic bitch alive. But I did buy a piece of red fabric as well, just to like put it somewhere in there, and we'll see how that goes. I have no idea what to do.
Okay, here's the rough design that I came up with. I'm not sure about this piece, it depends on how the rest goes, but more or less, also I'm not sure about the neckline area, but more or less, this is what I want to do. These are like multiple straps. This is based on a vintage dress that I've seen. So yeah, this is more or less the idea.
You need to step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept. What? Huh? You step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to. Huh?
I cut out the bodice and I cut out the straps that are going to be shoulder straps, hopefully. So yeah, that's it for now. I will do the skirt later because I still haven't really decided on the shape, but I think I'm going to go for this like sort of like a mermaid style skirt where it's a little bit narrower up to like the knees and then a flounce. We'll see. If you're spending at least some time on the internet and... Okay, honestly, I think the Oscar dresses are a mess inside because we never get to see the inside. And I still remember Zendaya's Cinderella light-up dress from the Met Gala, and I remember people posting pictures from the exhibition where it was shown what an utter mess the back of the dress was because it was probably altered quickly or something.
I do not remember this at all. Zendaya Cinderella dress back. Yep. Uh-oh. That's unfortunate. Let me get a good angle. Well, that doesn't look so bad. Oh, wait. I don't know. It seems like they have gotten those images scrubbed off the internet pretty well. I mean, it's a pretty dress. It is. Let's see. Yeah, that doesn't look very clean. Not great. This is very cool, though.
I am 100% sure that the Oscar dresses are like finished up 2 days before and they're an absolute, or even 2 hours before, and they're an absolute mess inside. That is why I choose to reenact that. I'm trying to make it historically accurate, and I'm not finishing the insides in a true Carolina manner. So here we go. Honestly, they change after the Oscars anyway, and they just go to the Vanity Fair party. So if they have sturdy dresses, they're probably saving them for the after parties and not for the actual thing. Is a center front seam like a no-no? I don't think anyone's gonna see that, especially that I'm wearing this in my own house. It's giving Madame X at the moment, which is not bad. Okay, I need some shaping here, so I'm gonna do some darts. The worst part is that I don't have an iron. So this is gonna be some high school level tailoring. No offense to high school tailors, you do you. I just wish this was a little more professional, but also I'm not actually going to the Oscars.
She's so
that's
funny.
The power of manifestation.
Oh my god, I love her.
In my brain, I'm like, oh my god, Anna Ventura is gonna see this. No, she's not.
Delusion. Yeah, Anna Wintour is definitely gonna see my dress.
So the issue is I left all my period... Okay, no, that sounds wrong. I left all my historical underwear in my house, so it's not in this flat currently, and I don't have what would be very useful here, which is like a 1950s bralette. I love how it ends up looking like a 1880s bustle for no reason. Oh, this is gonna make it look nicer. Some draping. All right, I got this. I got this. I think my inclination for making evening wear comes from the fact that my prom dress was an absolute disaster. I was heavily into Pride and Prejudice, but that was before I found out about like historical costuming. So I just thought I'm gonna wear Pride and Prejudice inspired dress to my Oh my god, I just remembered. I actually I had like a nice design and I went to a seamstress and she was like, I don't know how to make this. So instead we went shopping with my mom and I found this Pride and Prejudice inspired dress and I was just kind of done with like looking for the dress. I just wanted to like have this over with because I knew I'm not getting my dress anyway. I wonder if I can find the original design. But so I got this dress. It was also like discounted. It was like 4 sizes too big, but it was discounted. So I got this dress, which if I remember correctly, it was 200 zlotys, which is probably like $40 in modern money. Also, nobody asked me to prom, obviously. Painful memories coming out, huh?
Aww.
And I ended up going with a classmate. I was actually supposed to go along because I feel like it's kind of badass. Like, no, I'm an independent woman. So I was supposed to go on my own. Oh, it doesn't fit, does it? But instead, like 2 days before the prom, one of my classmates came to me and he was like, my girlfriend's not coming, and if we go together, we can cut the costs down. So I went with him. So obviously he didn't come and pick me up because like he had a girlfriend.
Oh my
and
god.
then during the prom, like the weird
it's like we can save money. Oh my god. Budgeting for the prom.
things happen. We found out our best friends are dating secretly for like 2 years and we didn't know. And I honestly think the fact that my prom was kind of a disaster is the reason I got into historical costuming, because I was like, I want to relive this experience and do it right. Like I want to heal my inner teenager, you know? I think I need to pick my seams actually. Also in Poland you have this tradition of like the first dance of the prom being the polonaise, which is this like really classy, elegant, old style dance. And I think one of my classmates came to me and she was like, we really need someone to dance with the school's principal. And it just so happened that it was the former school's principal who was a priest. So I danced my formal opening of the prom with a priest, which like, he was really chill, but not necessarily like the image of prom you have in mind if you have grown up watching High School Musical and all this stuff. So I think the most challenging part is not even like improvising those darts, but trying to make it symmetrical. Oh, this looks cute. Okay. Honestly, I have not, I think,
bro, this is so long,
heard of anyone who had like a fairy tale prom experience, because like you either went with someone you didn't like, or if you went with someone you did like.
I'm honestly so tired. We can jump forward to see how it looks, but
this all makes sense once you put a red lip on. I should have done that first thing and then continued on with the rest of the makeup because it makes so much sense.
oh, it's so pretty! Oh my god, it's so pretty! Oh, gorgeous. Holy. Oh, I love it. Finger holding. Take a dump, oh my god. It's so pretty!
Can we get
Adorable. Wonderful. Stunning. Fantastic. Groundbreaking. Never seen before. Okay. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks to everyone who came through. I'll be back on Tuesday. I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
And now I'm all up in it. I'll be back in a minute. She says that she loves me, she just wants to fuck me. Got me feeling something, got me feeling nothing. Alcoholic junkie, says she thinks I'm funny. Think I might get lucky, spending too much money. She says she wants my necklace, put her on the guest list. Hope I don't regret this, hope I don't regret this. I'm feeling hella reckless, cashing all my checks rich. Hickeys on my neck, shit, she's on the offensive. I do not know my set list, still I'm gonna get lit. Yeah, I have a death wish, live until I'm breathless. I'ma stay progressive, she gon' stay obsessive. Life is so expensive, do everything excessive. I think my brain's defective, yeah. Can't think when she's aggressive, yeah. She snuck into my section, yeah. You think I'd learn my lesson, yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me, yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me. Cause we ain't getting no sleep, yeah. No, we ain't getting no sleep, yeah. She's sitting up in the front of the class, using that ass, she gonna pass. Keeping her pad and her pen in her lap. She been so bad with the men in her past. Now she just want the professor so bad. I'll give her lessons that she freshman and teaching her math.